Good morning, shalom, moin moin, and a very warm welcome to our second day of Hamburg on Tour in Israel. Today we will have two great sessions on hydrogen and mobility, and yet another workshop on how you can actually make Hamburg your safe harbor, your anchorage for your business, your startup, your idea, and your venture. My name is Johannes Berg. I'm the moderator of today and the managing director of the Digital Hub Logistics, and it's my pleasure to guide you through this morning session again, where we will focus on the topic that I just heard this morning may become one of the golden topics for Europe in the decades to come: hydrogen and, of course, mobility playing a key role here in Hamburg, as the city sees itself as a test bed, as a great ecosystem for trying new mobility solutions, ending up in the ITS World Congress coming to Hamburg next year in October. Well, while I and all the panelists may do a lot of talking, you all have the possibility to participate. And if you have joined yesterday, you're already familiar with our Menti tool. If not, let me explain this very simple tool to you. You either scan the QR code that you see on the screen, or you go to menti.com, and then you enter for the first panel, for the hydrogen session, you enter the code 9767210. We will have a different code for each session, but I will let you know what that code is and remind you on how Menti works. That being from my side for the start of the day, we'll watch a little video now, and then I'm looking forward to a great panel discussing hydrogen, and we see each other again in about an hour. Enjoy. One.
Good morning, Hamburg, and good morning, Israel, and good morning to whomever else from across the world. That was a very exciting video. It seems as though that lately hydrogen has become one of those hot topics that is currently on the agenda. Especially in the fight against climate change, hydrogen made from renewables seems like a very good solution for heavy emitting sectors like the transportation and the heavy industry. Now, as for Germany, even though just recently, the government declared a national plan, a national hydrogen strategy, and said Germany to be a leader in this field, Germany has already gained experience in the hydrogen sector with the rolling out of already hydrogen station and initiating projects, and Hamburg specifically with his fuel cell buses a while ago. So it seems as though, at least in the transportation sector, Germany has already gained this experience. And in my opinion, Germany here has a lot to bring to the table with experience, with knowledge to share. And the hydrogen sector is very, very important now. And again, Germany here is a really, really great player and great partner to collaborate with. Israel is perceived as a startup nation or as the Silicon Valley for the auto tech industry, and also a lot of experience in innovation in this field, in hydrogen and fuel cells, in electrochemistry, electromobility. And just to name a few, so we have the Israeli Research Center for Electrical Propulsion with a lot of research devoted to fuel cells and hydrogen. We have the Israel Fuel Cell Consortium with top-notch research infrastructure. And we have startups working on hydrogen generation, hydrogen storage, fuel cells, electrolyzers, and currently we're even rolling out the first and building the first hydrogen station here in Israel. So to sum up my background, Germany has experience, projects, strategy, and Israel has to offer a lot of innovation and can learn a lot from Germany, which by the way, we've already been doing through different workshops and collaboration with different institutes and both the government institutes and academic institutes in Germany. So in our perspective, how do you make things happen? Collaboration, cooperation, especially in a field like this. Israel has to offer a lot in terms of innovation, Germany in terms of experience, strategy. And so with me here is a great panel that will help me walk through what are the challenges that this industry faces, and also what kind of collaboration could initiate this and roll it out even more. So before going to my first question, I would like each one of the panelists to give a short introduction of himself and present himself. So maybe with you, we'll start with you, Professor Carlson, please.
Thank you very much. Yes, I'm very happy and glad to be part of this event. And we do with my team research on hydrogen storage and hydrogen generation by solar water splitting. So I have an appointment at the university in Hamburg and at a nearby research center, Helmholtz, where we work together in a team of about 40 people.
Thank you. Rami.
Good morning. Thank you, Anat. Good morning, Germany. Good morning, Israel. My name is Rami Reshef. I'm a co-founder and CEO of Gensel Energy. At Gensel, we are a developer and producer of alkaline fuel cell. And we are the first company right now in the world that introduced power to generation based on ammonia as a hydrogen carrier. And I believe this could be maybe part of the session that will discuss how to achieve our zero emission goal by hydrogen with different hydrogen carriers, and one of them it's ammonia. Of the company, we are more than 80 people in the company. We have, as an R&D company, we have many technical background and all, but also we are in a commercial company with also already an installed base in 18 countries, including Germany. Thank you.
Livia, please.
Good morning. Thank you very much for the invitation. My name is Livia, and I am with Plug and Play Ventures. We are an early stage investor based in Silicon Valley, but having more than 30 satellite offices all around the world. And we are also in Germany. We are very happy to be here because of the strength of the industry. And in the last few years, we have been bringing a lot of Israeli startups actually to Germany and connected them with German OEMs, tier 1, tier 2 suppliers, working on the future of mobility and transportation.
And finally, Peter.
Hello from Hamburg. Good morning to everybody. It's a pleasure to be with you this morning. And my name is Peter Lindler. I'm managing director with High Solutions. We are a public-private partnership here in Hamburg, so not state-owned, but with public companies in our portfolio. And we are doing the project management and the project development with all the applications and the specific use cases that we have here in the north of Germany. And of course, we are involved in very much in the strategy papers. There's a lot of strategies these days, but we will talk on this later.
So as you see, we have here a great panel, and this is the time to remind you to use the app to ask questions, which we'll be distributing them later on. But let's go back to what I mentioned before, challenges. That there are challenges here in the sector, in rolling out this sector. And yes, the German energy landscape already includes the use of hydrogen, again, in transportation, with about 80 stations, fueling stations, and again, the expertise and insight. In Israel, as I mentioned, we're now going to the first fueling station, and there is interest growing. Now, from your perspective, and Peter, I would start with you. What are the main challenges that should be taken into account when entering a new field, and especially one like this?
Well, for example, if you mention the refilling stations, we have the chicken and egg problem, of course, which is one of the main challenges. Infrastructure should be there before the rollout of vehicles, of cars will take place. But the main challenge is the availability of hydrogen cars in Europe. As you know, there are the Asian OEMs that they already in Japan and Korea, they manufacture this in a high volume, but the German car makers are not that keen on hydrogen with the passenger cars. It's completely different when we look to heavy duty applications, of course, because in the bus sector and in the heavy duty truck sector, there is a real potential, a significant potential for hydrogen. This is one of the challenges. So another challenge is we are talking about green hydrogen. So where does it come from? And we have some advantages here in the north of Germany. It's not just Hamburg, it's all the entire region, as we have a very close relation to the coast, and we have offshore and onshore wind energy that we can use in providing green hydrogen via electrolyzers and so on. So there is a path from the source of green energy to the production of green hydrogen to the distribution. And another advantage is that we have a wide range of applications, for example, in the transport and logistics sector, but also in the industry. The industrial use is key for the market deployment of hydrogen. So the challenge is to bring this all together, to orchestrate it. And but one of the key challenges is it should be green. So we have to take it from green production.
And you're taking me right to the next question, because yes, green hydrogen is like considered the holy grail. But what technological improvements and Thomas, I think that goes directly to you. What technological improvements or partnerships or incentives or collaboration are needed in order to have a green hydrogen a more economic? Because so far it's seen as very far from being economic.
Yes, so I think hydrogen can be already economic if you take the whole view. So in Germany, for example, we have a lot of renewable energy, as Peter has already pointed out. We have a lot of wind, especially in North Germany. But you need to bring together the supply of energy and the demand. And this does not always match. So we waste a lot of renewable energy because it's not currently needed. If the wind blows, you don't need it. And if you need energy, the wind doesn't blow. So to match that up is a big challenge. And this is also a big opportunity. In Germany, we waste 1.5 billion euros every year wasted renewable energy that could be used for hydrogen production. And in order to be economic with this approach, you need to have the right political framework for it. So politics is very important in this case to promote it and to actually set the right frame for hydrogen being economic. So Wind energy is not very expensive in Israel. I think sun would also be an option. And the development that we are currently working on is to try to use solar energy to directly split water. So we use so-called photoelectrochemical cells. They are also called artificial leaves. And they do exactly what's happening in natural leaves. They take the sunlight and the water and they separate hydrogen and oxygen. And the artificial leaves are actually much more efficient than the natural leaves. However, they still need some scientific research to make them more durable, to increase durability. But this is a perspective for the future to also produce hydrogen in a very economic way. And today, as I said, it can already be economic if you take the whole picture. And I think certainly also CO2 taxes can help to promote hydrogen.
Livia, from your perspective, how do you see what should be needed in order to make electrolyzers and green hydrogen and even technologies around the fuel cells and the hydrogen production?
Yeah, first of all, we have to be able to bring in some cost efficiency and cost competitiveness to alternative fuels. That's very important, because unless there are prices that can compete with the current ones, it's very difficult to actually bring these new energies on the market, and also efficiency in the production. And when it comes to innovations and startups that are emerging in the new energies field or hydrogen field, I would say it's still in a very beginner phase, and since the inception of a company, since the founding, you need a long R&D cycle in order to actually see the results. And they also need a lot of funding. But on the VC side, if you look at it from the venture capital perspective, new energy companies, especially hydrogen startups, are not that attractive, especially because of the long R&D cycles, because of the capital intensivity, and also that there are major players like big OEMs. If you take into account the collaboration between Daimler Trucks and Volvo for the production of fuel cell systems for heavy-duty trucks. So this is something that, these huge dinosaurs and big players, it's very difficult to compete with them as a startup. But that's why we are here, and we are also working with the government, and government can actually put funding into these companies in very early stages. So when they are ready to go, we are happy to support these startups with different partnerships and bring them to the industry where they can really pilot their technologies and validate them.
So one of the questions that I got from for the audience is, has Plug and Play already invested in hydrogen startups, and even hydrogen or fuel cell?
We haven't invested yet, but we are currently looking into 3 companies, because we would like to do an investment in this field, as we consider it very important, but we haven't done it yet.
Okay, Rami, you're the startup here. You're on the fuel cell side more. What challenges do you deal with?
As a startup, we're always dealing with many challenges, from funding up to taking the technology and the product to the market. But I think, in my view, as I run a startup trying to promote our technology solution to the market, and I see that in a bit different way. I think that the world need to adopt a holistic view about hydrogen, if we really believe that hydrogen is our carrier into zero emission target, 2030, 2040, or 2050. And when I say holistic, it means that hydrogen the usage of hydrogen should be all around us, from stationary applications, houses, and mobility. It's not only mobility. When hydrogen will be part of our energy economy, which means it will be a holistic and integrated part with other feedstock, such as renewable, even nuclear, hydroelectrics, and other. and we'll have this future distributed grid, then I believe hydrogen will have a fair chance to be a real player in this market. In order to do so, I believe that this mission need to be divided to maybe 2 or 3 parts. The government's role is to detect the pathway to the future, put incentives or taxes for CO2, as Thomas mentioned before. Companies like Gensel and others, this is their roles to come with the right technology, how to make hydrogen technology, not only fuel cell, but also hydrogen storage, an affordable solution that can compete with the fossil fuel technology that we are facing today. Thirdly, it's I would say the VCs and the capital market should have what called long breath. They need to invest with companies that need to develop disruptive technology. And it's not software that you can in 2 or 3 years come out with a product. You need at least a decade in order to bring to the world a full commercial and affordable technology. So it's, in my point of view, it's always trying to connect the dots between the governments up to the capital. And because many good companies in the world right now investing many millions and millions in order to come to the market, and supporting these companies with regulation and incentives, this is what this market is needed right now.
Thank you. That's actually the way, at least in Israel as the government, that's the way we see that our role isn't to incentivize, it's to support every segment of the technology production chain, starting from the basic research and helping startups in all phases, all the way to the pilots phase, and even walk them through the commercialization phase, and also support with the right regulation for that. Now, you did mention connecting the dots. So I think in Israel, in terms of in the governments, the dots are connected via this the smart mobility, the Fuel Choices and Smart Mobility Initiative, which I'm heading, which does all of that, connects all the government agencies. It connects the industry and the academy. But one thing that I want to take is especially relevant to this panel is connecting the dots internationally. So again, Israel it has a lot of innovation, as I mentioned, both on the hydrogen side and the fuel cell, and for different applications. And Germany, other than the experience that we mentioned, has a strong automotive and energy and utilities industry. So I want to ask now, Peter, Livia, and Thomas, what are the challenges that you see that the industry faces that maybe Israel, through its innovation, can aid in that? So Livia, maybe we'll start with you.
Yeah, so as I mentioned, we've been working with Israeli startups in the last few years, and we also invested in many like cybersecurity companies, teleoperating companies, telecommunication companies, and we see a very special trait in Israeli founders. They are super good engineers, and not only that, but they're also very good business people, and they really understand the business language of different nations. They really know how to speak with with the industry in Germany as well. They are really forward thinking, they are disruptive. So when it comes to like what kind of innovation we need, I wouldn't say that it's something that we need only from Israel as such, but in general, what needs to be innovated is the compression, the storage, the production of hydrogen, everything that has to do with track and trace, and also the application of it. So all these aspects of the entire like supply chain and value chain is super important. But I would say when it comes to Israel, then it's more the entrepreneurial spirit, the very genuine and very real engineering knowledge is very unique for Israeli founders in general.
Peter?
Yes, first of all, as a basis of everything is knowledge transfer, of course, and sharing experiences. But I wouldn't focus that much on technical feasibility as we are addressing the emerging markets. It's more the economic feasibility that should be subject to cooperation. And I would really, appreciate that there is a strong B2B relation between companies and entities in Israel and German entities. It's not that much the governments. The governments, they do the framework and they are some kind of door opener, but we want market solutions. We aim at market solutions. So there is a lot of framework actually in Germany and all over Europe. We have strategy papers, we have roadmaps, we have a lot of funding strategies, 7 billion euro in fact, 9 billion euro in Germany for hydrogen projects. But when it comes to an end, we have to have a self-sustaining market. And we have a northern German strategy, hydrogen strategy, and it says that there should be a self-sustaining market at the latest by 2035. And now I refer to what Livia said. One of our key challenges is the long R&D cycles, which makes it unattractive for private equity. And if you consider the plans, for example, of OEMs in the heavy duty sector, for example, Daimler, MAN, or Nikola, just to name an American brand, they will be market ready 2024 or first steps into the market. So there is no real market deployment at this stage. And this we have to consider when we talk about how to cooperate and what would be a kind of accelerator for business plans and accelerator for ideas. And we share these ideas between Israel and Germany.
I fully agree with you, Peter, on that. Thomas?
Yes, I also agree to Livia and Peter. We need business cases where we bring together the end user and the supply, and where it's worthwhile to implement hydrogen and to make money with it. Technologically, there's already a lot possible, and Rami is head of a company that produces electrolyzers, so there is already a lot of technology available that can be implemented, but they have to come together, and you have to have the knowledge how to connect the pieces. And for mobility in particular, it's, to my knowledge and in my opinion, it's storage of hydrogen. If you think of cars, there's not much space, and hydrogen needs to be compressed to 700 bars. And 700 bar technology is a little bit challenging because the tanks are expensive, and the compression needs compressors that need a lot of maintenance. So this is not easy, and we work on another solution. We try to store hydrogen in metal hydrides, and we actually already have some exchange with Israel on that topic, and currently we try to evaluate this technology with Volkswagen for longer range personal vehicles, but also for heavy duty vehicles with their MAN facilities. So storage in mobile applications is still a challenge because it's very costly, and you can bring costs down if you find alternatives to the current solutions in hydrogen storage on board.
Okay, we'll go back to that in a minute, but I do want to take a couple of questions that I received from the audience. So one of the question is, when will the first electrolyzer of meaningful size be built in Hamburg? Opening it to you.
Well, we have very ambitious plans with a 100 megawatt electrolyzer, which is located in the port of Hamburg. And you might know that it's not just the port of Hamburg, but the greater port area in Hamburg is a big or large industrial site. It's one of the largest industrial sites in Europe. And there we have the possibility to realize these plans. And it's a preferred option that we have this on a former power plant area where we have perfect electricity and other conditions. So these plans are very ambitious, but it will be realized within the next 3 to 4 years.
Okay.
100 megawatt.
100 megawatt. Yeah, I think I've heard about that.
Yes.
Anyone want? Yeah.
Yes, I think that was a great step forward, that politics in Hamburg committed to build this electrolyzer in Hamburg and brought potential users together. And this is also something that is Peter's business, actually, to bring the people together. And he's quite successful with it. So in Hamburg, we have all the different user cases. We have heavy industry, steel and copper. We have the mobility sector, and we even have airplanes. So we have Airbus nearby, and Airbus will build a new hydrogen plane. It's supposed to be on the market in 2030. So there's an ambitious plan to realize that, and it all fits together. And I think it was a very important step to make this commitment to build a 100 megawatt electrolyzer in Hamburg to supply hydrogen to the different user cases.
Airbus did. We also heard about Airbus and their declarations, and there was some kind, at least a while ago, of a lot of car manufacturers that did mention that they will be having more models of fuel cell vehicles. But that brings me to a question from the audience. Another one: due to the pandemic and economic downturn, many fossil fuel prices have also dropped. Do cheaper fossil prices stop the hydrogen breakthrough? What do you guys think? Yeah.
If I take it, I think that nothing will stop the hydrogen breakthrough. It's just a matter of time. I think the world recognized the fact that we must move towards a hydrogen economy. Otherwise, we are destroying the place that we and our children live on. I think that the key challenge, I think that Peter, in his introduction, he mentioned the chicken and the egg phenomena. So I think this is actually what really stopping us to adopt faster the hydrogen economy. Because basically, technology is there. We have there's a great technology all around us, from fuel cells technology, electrolyzers, ammonia and methanol reformers. It's out there. The challenge is beating the cost that have built in the last 100 years for technology that was adopted massively all over the world. And there are, I know, Fortune 500 companies already, most of them declare that they are going to net zero. They will not use any more fossil fuel technology. We can see all automotive industry shifting towards hydrogen, but you will not find hydrogen in every street corner, which means that there will be required of massive investment in order to make hydrogen very accessible and affordable. This is the key. And this is where I still believe this is the role of governments. It's like when the world shifted from coal to oil. There was a massive investment in order to adopt the first car. Otherwise, it will still run on carriage and horses. So technology is there. Technology is there, and technology is reliable and will be super reliable in the near future. But what the world is needed is really the involvement of governments. Because once technology and the fuel, in this case is hydrogen, will be affordable, the adoption will skyrocket. I have no doubts about it.
But Rami, just to give a comment on this, of course, there is a specific part that the governments have to take, but to bring down the cost and to make it affordable, we just need economies of scale. So we have to scale up, and therefore we need the industry partners. So it's a matter of commitment within the industries, the specific industries, chemical industry, for example, or steel, copper, aluminum. So there is a high potential, and if these stakeholders show the commitment and a real transformation into new markets, then we have a real chance to get it, to have it affordable, because economies of scale is absolutely key. And we are working on different projects within the framework of European Commission, which is called IPCEI, Important Projects of Common European Interest. And the main focus is on the first industrial deployment. So we have to produce, and we have to distribute, and we have to store in an industrial level. So economies of scale is, well, it's the key to everything.
But you need to create demand in order to get it. And I think that one of the key drivers in the world to create demand, it's governmental regulations.
Yeah,
in
sure.
favor or against some industry. And there's industry that is still dominated the world, that if governments will not, I don't want to use the word punish them, but let's make their life difficult, they will not shift to something that maybe it's more expensive now, but in the future it will be more affordable.
I absolutely agree. What we need is a more investor-friendly regulation, sure, which refers to tax regulations, to energy restrictions that we have at the moment. But we in Europe are very much bound to European framework and European regulations. So it's a very complex issue, of course.
Understand.
Yes, but I also support Rami's view. I think we need strong commitments. We have to make the transition to green energies. We have to save our climate. There's no other option. We have to get hydrogen going. And this requires some commitments by politicians. So like in Norway, where they said ships with fossil fuels can't enter our fjords anymore. They now prepare a law that flights, short distance flights, cannot lift off with fossil fuels anymore, starting 2035. So this sets some goals and fixes some dates and gives companies the ability to plan ahead for these goals. And actually, I have to say, hydrogen is not expensive. Hydrogen is cheap. It's just the fossil fuels are cheaper because you don't account for the damage they do to our climate. And this has to have a value. So there has to be a tax on CO2 that's substantial. And then you will see the transformation happening quite quickly. I'm convinced we will see a lot of changes within the coming 10 years already, if the regulations are right and companies can plan ahead.
That is exactly. The government is a facilitator. It should set the platform. It should set the regulation. The market will have to do its share after. But yes, we as a government need to set the regulatory and maybe incentivize things that we know will be economically viable in the future. That's our role. That's an enabler. That's what we did with the natural gas here in Israel. That's what we did with the electricity. But yes, we do need now, and in that case, we need to learn from Germany about the National Strategic Plan, which actually gives long-term consistency, visibility, a commitment that will say, okay, now the market can enter this with maybe less risk. And so I totally agree on that. One of you mentioned before the Airbus, the plane, and I got a question just now saying that if we actually believe that is realistic that a plane will fly with hydrogen, how about the weight? Will there be enough green hydrogen for the whole flight? Maybe one of you would like to explain this?
Yes, so of course, it all has to be green hydrogen. And the question is where the quantities of green hydrogen come from. Currently in Germany, we are importing 80% of our energy. And for different reasons, this will also be the case in future. So we will have to import hydrogen. And it will probably come by ship and will come to the harbor of Hamburg. So we have to set up the infrastructure. but we also have to find solutions how to transport hydrogen in ships. And this is a challenge that it's currently we are taking on that. There's a new research center funded right now in Hamburg, close to Hamburg, that deals with hydrogen transport in ships and propulsion of ships by hydrogen. So these two pillars. And hydrogen will probably come from sun-rich countries where you have a lot of sun and can produce hydrogen at a cheap price. So this will still be in place in the future. We will import energy, and this is also important from a political perspective to have peace between the countries and have a balanced import-export trade. So
Israel has a lot of sun and could be a good candidate for producing hydrogen, especially the southern part of Israel. And Israel, I think, in that regard, could be a very good beta site, a playground for those for large electrolyzers and all that. Peter, you spoke before about the economy of scale and about Hamburg, and Hamburg, you mentioned, has the aluminum industry, which is a very good industry place to actually roll out projects there. Are they already some kind of projects on hydrogen? That's my first question. And my second question is about, again, the Hamburg experience. I know that a while ago there were buses, the public transportation in Hamburg were partially on hydrogen after they tested different, the hydrogen, the battery, and some kind of opportunity charging and a lot of options, and they did go for buses. What is going on now in Hamburg regarding that? So both the industry and the transportation.
Okay. First of all, the industry sides. We are in talks about the specific potential on the volume of hydrogen and the demand. So what we do now is some kind of demand side management with these companies, still in theory, but we are very much committed to start within the next 2 or 3 years with practical empiric things. So yes, there is chemistry, there is metallurgy, and these are the key players when it comes to high demand and high volume demand. With the public transport sector, it's like this. We are technical open. We have a lot of battery electric buses in operation here. They serve in the daily business, but our companies, our public transport companies, say with the technical readiness level of these electric buses, they perform on about 40% of all business operations. 40%. And what about the other 60%? So there is a high expectation that hydrogen buses, fuel cell buses, will perform in a way that we hope to be absolutely zero emission by 2032. And we have a procurement guideline that says that in Hamburg from 2020, so this year, there will be no more purchase of conventional bus technology. So it has to be hybrid, electric, or fuel cell. And but to be honest, it's difficult with the bus industry. They are working, they're doing a good job, but it takes time. And this is one of the main problems that we have.
You mentioned conventional industry. Livia, back to you. For hydrogen to become a central component, so you need to work on the whole chain, on the whole value chain technologies, the production, the storage, as Thomas mentioned, the infrastructure. Where with your work with OEMs or component manufacturers or things like that, how do you see them engaged in this in hydrogen and fuel cell technologies?
Yeah, so they are really active, and they consider it very important. I mentioned the Volvo and the Daimler trucks joint venture initiative for like creating the fuel cell systems for heavy duty trucks and even for more applications. But we can also think about the H2 mobility project in Germany that is set for establishing the hydrogen fueling stations. Several hundreds. That's their goal, and they want to contribute to the European goal of having, I think, 3,700 hydrogen fuel stations by 2030. And into this project, we have, for example, Lindler, Shell, and Daimler as our corporate partners contributing to it. So we said before that this field is very difficult for venture capitalists to invest in because of the maturity of all the big players like these corporations. But I'm really sure, and I already know, because we are looking for niche technology providers for Linde, for Shell, for Daimler, also for hydrogen related products and solutions, because I mean, they have to make sure that it works, but there are, I'm sure, some parts, very detailed niche technologies where they are open to work with startups from Israel, from Hamburg, from anywhere in the world, that they can just easily license their technology, pilot their technology, and try it out to disrupt a certain field or link in the supply chain of hydrogen.
I hope you hear this, all the Israeli startups, that there is some kind of at least a need for technologies that you can jump right in, and the German Chamber of Commerce, which are actually part of establishing this conference, will be more than happy to help you with that, I'm sure. Thomas, I want to go back to the research side. I told you that here in Israel we have a lot of basic and applied research in the academic level, and we, as a government, we did put the platform for that, for establishing a research center, providing the research grants, and providing the research infrastructure. I was looking that in the national plan, so one of the domains is the research, education, and innovation, and that there is a roadmap for establishing a hydrogen economy with international signaling effect to become a leading producer of hydrogen technologies. What are the things that are now on that roadmap? Both on the fuel cell, if for instance solid oxide fuel cells, or different hydrogen technologies, both on the production side, on just what is the roadmap?
Okay, hydrogen is very versatile, and you can use it flexibly in a lot of different use cases. So there's a lot of opportunities out there for further technological improvements. There is already a lot of technology that can be implemented. So there's a lot of business in implementing what we already have, but there's also a lot of opportunities for further developments. So as you said, you start with producing hydrogen. Rami is doing this with alkaline electrolyzers, but there are different options to produce hydrogen. And all of them have their particular advantages and disadvantages in certain environments. And then once you have hydrogen, you need to store it. There's also different opportunities for the airplanes. It will be liquid, but they also need to develop the tanks and the production technologies for these large tanks in airplanes. So it's not easy. There's a lot of challenges involved in producing the actual tanks for hydrogen storage, be it in liquid form or as a gas or in solid form like we do on metal hydrides. So there's a lot of different opportunities to improve storage as well. And it all depends on the environment, the kind of the amounts you want to store, and the kind of restrictions regarding weight or volume. So again, every technology has certain advantages and disadvantages. And then you need the conversion side again. So the fuel cells And in some way, it's similar, of course, to electrolyzers. And you also have different scales you are working on. So in the short range on this roadmap, it's actually mostly implementation of what we have and putting it together, making an efficient overall system, creating an efficient overall system that's competitive on the market. On the longer run, we are working on technologies to increase efficiencies, like for hydrogen production. I'm sure that at some point we will have photoelectrochemical cells. Currently, they are not durable enough, so that's the main challenge, but there's also other challenges involved. And again, there's a lot of opportunities in different technologies to engage in.
So now we're starting to sum things up. And I started with this, that the panel will actually walk through the challenges that the industry faces, which I think you all outlined the challenges, and how can collaboration be promoted and where are the opportunities for collaboration. So to sum things up, what I want each one of you is to kind of tell me after this panel, where do you see the collaboration between Israel and Hamburg in that respect? Who wants to start? I'm going to pick one. Rami, go ahead.
Okay. So I can see on several places the collaboration potential. I would say first one is that we are in Israel. We are in a startup nation. We are good with taking zero, make it one. But honestly, we know that if we can enjoy from Germany capability, Hamburg capability to take 0 to 100, this is what we need. We need to take our innovation to the level of excellency that you guys in Germany, they know how to do it, and we need to admit better than us. I would say, which means scale of operation or to take this technology and scaling up, this is one point of collaboration. Secondly, I think that in Israel we have many good ideas that are really looking to a big market. Since Germany is the leading country in Europe, actually the capital of Europe, and just I think Thomas or Peter mentioned that they are allocated right now 9 billion for hydrogen economy. This is the places where we can bring this technology to Germany as a pilot, as the first POCs, beta sites. With or without the governmental support, but I think that this is kind of thing that at least in Israel, my company and other companies that are dealing and investing in this technology could enjoy from this level of collaboration.
I understand this as an expression of interest in 8 billion of these 9 billions from your side.
Yeah. 8 or 9, it's okay.
Well, maybe I can say something on this. Rami is responsible for his products. We are responsible for our concepts. And the challenge is, how does this specific product fits into these concepts? And we shouldn't talk in general. We should focus on specific use cases. This is one of our learnings, that it helps when you start a corporation that you have a specific application, a specific use case that you're talking about. So it's a matter of, does it fit or does it not fit? And this is one of the things. And the other things for cooperation, of course, are the very complex import issues. There is a European plan, which is called the European Backbone. It will be by 2050, a grid infrastructure with all the gas net and gas grid providers. They will open their infrastructures for hydrogen. And at the same time, we are, what Thomas mentioned, we are considering that the seaway is the perfect way with our port of Hamburg and also other European ports like Rotterdam or Antwerp. But this will be a focus on in the upcoming phase of discussion. So I mean, we could talk. It's not just a fancy idea, but it's taking very serious. We could talk about import strategies, export and import.
Okay. Livia?
Yeah, so as you mentioned, that Hamburg is a great testing field for all different technologies that have to do with the future of transportation and also the application of hydrogen because of the sea transportation, air freight, roads, and also the rail transportation. So that's one thing. So Hamburg is a perfect test field for all kinds of technologies. And then the other thing is how plug and play can help Israeli startups is that similarly what Peter mentioned, we have very specific use cases, or we have access to very specific use cases by all our German OEM partners and other European OEM partners, and Daimler, Porsche, Hyundai, Mitsubishi. We are working with all of these companies for which the exploring and implementing the alternative energies is a key. It's a key point. So we would love to actually connect with the Israeli Chamber of Commerce, share maybe some of the use cases, and find out whether there are any startups, tech companies in Israel that can provide solutions for those.
Okay. And Thomas?
Yes, I think we need a more global approach. Of course, Hamburg is a very good research field and implementing field to show hydrogen is working in a lot of different options and industries. But we need to implement hydrogen all over the globe. And in particular, if you think about the hydrogen airplanes, they can start in Hamburg if there's a hydrogen infrastructure, but they also need to be able to refuel in other places.
Yeah.
So this is something that Airbus is very much concerned about right now. And we need to work on concepts together, how that problem can be solved and what can be the joint infrastructures that work in Hamburg, but as well in Jerusalem or wherever in the world. So we need to think about joint solutions and need to have technologies that are the same and have a certain standard in different countries, and we need to work together on that.
Okay, so now I'm going to sum everything that you said. So Hamburg is a testing field, test bed, but we have to focus on specific application use cases with relevant partners, OEMs, and everything. Connect them to the Israeli ecosystem, to the Israeli innovation, with the aid of the Chamber of Commerce. There are $9 billion there waiting for you, and after that, we have to go global. Okay, that sounds okay?
Good summary of that.
Thank you so much. It was very, very interesting talking to you. I know I learned a lot. I hope the audience will use that, and let's collaborate. This is the way to success.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Well, on behalf of that entire panel, thank you very much, Anat, for that very fruitful 1 hour of full hydrogen fuel talk, I would put it that way. And a new morning after yesterday, and a new proof that our Menti tool seems to work. Anat got quite a number of questions there. So just about heading into the next session, which is of equally importance to Hamburg, new mobility within a smarter city. Cities are for people, not for traffic. I think that's a good overarching topic for the next panel discussion that we're going to see. And again, some of you who've been watching now for the last few hours, also yes, they will get bored of this, but a gentle reminder to menti.com, QR code, or menti.com. And then for the next session, there's a new code again, 3546517. So in order to keep the moderator full with questions as the first one this morning, just go on menti.com and type in your questions or remarks or ideas, whatever you feel like. We are going to watch a little video again that will bring us into the mood of transportation, of mobility, of what is going on in that field in Hamburg. And afterwards, tune in and enjoy the panel discussion. So here we go. Enjoy, and we see each other in an hour.
Hi, are you also looking forward to 2021? Today, I'll share what's been happening with mobility in Hamburg lately and what you can expect at the ITS World Congress. Hamburg is alive, and mobility gives it its pulse. I call it Hamburg Takt. The aim of the city is that no one has to wait more than 5 minutes for public transport. It's exciting, and it's made for people in the Hanseatic city. I don't need to pay attention to timetables. I just move through the city when and how I want to, and I always find a connection. Last year's vision is now in progress. Heat is up and running. Tests for autonomous driving in the middle of the city. Crazy, isn't it? New mobility doesn't always need streets though. More and more drones are being used in Hamburg. For instance, to transport urgent lab samples between hospital and testing labs. Important deliveries for hospitals now go quickly and securely with Medifly, and there's no traffic congestion. I think the coolest thing is the Hamburg Takt. Timetables, they don't matter. I can switch between transport modes at any time and I'll always make my connection. Hamburg is planning 60 kilometers of new bike paths every year, and there are more and more bicycle parking garages. It's good for the climate and great for bike fans like me. I feel safe too. Hamburg focuses on less protected road users like cyclists. Our traffic authority is working with citizens to rethink how we do things, what makes sense and mobility safer. We'll see you next year in October. I'm looking forward to it. Feel the pulse of the city yourself. Experience lots of ITS projects and new alternatives for inner city mobility. Live.
Hello, I'm Edna Pasher, and I'm very excited and honored to moderate this great panel. It's about a topic that I know from my over 20 years of experience in knowledge cities and then smart cities, that this is the number one challenge of all people in all cities, which is mobility. So I love this topic, and I look forward to a great conversation and knowledge sharing and big opportunities for all of us to collaborate. I am the founder and the chairperson of the Israel Smart Cities Institute, which is an NGO led by a group of experts from all aspects of the smart cities. We help cities in Israel and abroad to become smarter. My definition of what a smart city is that it is an attractive city for the residents, for tourists, for business people, for everybody. Just like the city that Lee Sharir, who is here with me and handles all of our international activities, and myself, we are both in Tel Aviv, and Tel Aviv is definitely an attractive city. We have measures for that. All the young people in Israel want to come to Tel Aviv. So I will end my little introduction here. And I will now turn to you to introduce yourself first and the organization that you represent. And then we will move to knowledge sharing. So the first one is Henrik is not here. So we will go to the next one. The next one is Dr. Asaf Formosa. My pleasure. Kindly introduce yourself and the organization you represent.
Thank you, Edna. It's a pleasure being here. So, as you mentioned, my name is Asaf. I'm Asaf Formosa. I'm a serial entrepreneur with an vast experience in sales, marketing, and management. I am also a mechanical engineer, PhD. I co-founded the City Transformer back in 2014, and I am the CEO of City Transformer. And as you, I live and work in Tel Aviv and commute in the center. And I love the topic. Cities should be for people and not for cars. And this is exactly what we do in City Transformer. We bring a new option to maneuver in the city. If today you have two options, either to take a car and to be a victim of time, or to take a two-wheeler and then you compromise on your safety. So we developed and created a third option that take the best from both worlds and give you a micro mobility option to maneuver and to be able to change your dimension by maneuvering in the city, have the comfort and confidence of a car with the option to maneuver and park as a motorcycle. This is City Transformer, and love being here today. By the way, we are building the vehicle of the future in Germany, both in Germany and in Tel Aviv. So it's a pleasure being here.
Thank you very much, Asaf. You'll be able to add more later. And after Asaf, I would ask Itai Erel. Itai, kindly introduce yourself and the organization you represent.
Hi, good morning. I'm Itai Erel. I'm the CEO of Drive TLV. Drive TLV, it's an innovation hub for smart mobility, one of the leading hubs in Israel. We're helping Israeli startups to work with big corporates and collaborate, such as Volvo Cars, Volvo Group, the trucks and buses, Honda, Hertz, Ituran, NEC, and Cox Automotive. And it's a pleasure to be here.
Thank you very much, Itai. We move on. Chemdat Sagi, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Thanks everyone for hosting me. I really love Hamburg and visited there many times, so it's a pleasure. I head the strategy and business development of Connect. Connect is the Volkswagen Group Innovation Hub in Tel Aviv. And our goal basically is to integrate Israeli technologies in our cars, in our factories. We support our car brands, our truck brands. And as our group is moving into a mobility provider more and more, I would say we have a lot to contribute and say about the topic of cities. I don't necessarily agree with the saying that cities are just for people. I think people do need to move from one point to the other. Therefore, we could think of solutions that integrate technologies such as data analytics and AI to support, I would say, a vision of a city where people live, commute, and use different platforms of mobility. And I do have some projects to share later on when I have the time.
Okay, thank you very much, Chemdat. And we move next to Philip. Philip von Witzendorf. Did I pronounce it okay, Philip?
Amazingly perfect. Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yes, thank you for the invitation. Yeah, my name Philip von Witzendorf. I'm the managing director for Porsche Own Retail in Hamburg. So what do? I basically run classic car dealerships. So it seems like I'm the odd one in the panel, but just seems like it, as we will see a little later on. What's unique about Porsche Hamburg? We have one dealership actually located right in the heart and center of Hamburg itself, basically just under 2 kilometers from the Alster, which who knows himself around in Hamburg knows that it's like really in the city center. And this location is only 2 years old, so you might think that we've been here like 20, 30, 40 years and it's time to move out. But this was actually just finished 2 years ago. So there's also a lot of innovation in a so-called classic car dealership, which is not as classic as a lot of people think anymore. And I'm happy to join this discussion.
Thank you very much, Philip. So now we can go to the next round, but I do see Sasha. Sasha, would you like to add something? I don't have you on my list, but I'm flexible enough to be able to see that I have a very smiley face here. So the floor is yours. Yes.
Surprise, surprise. Yes, now I'm here. Thanks for having me, Edna. Yeah, I'm Sascha Westermann. Actually, you named or you called for Henrik before. Henrik Falk is the CEO of Hamburger Hofbahn. I'm working for the Hamburger Hofbahn. I'm an employee and I'm replacing him today. Maybe this is why you don't have me on your list. So actually, as I'm an employee of the Hamburger Hofbahn, I know a bit about mobility and public transport, of course. And I have another hat because my role in the Hofbahn, what I'm doing is managing the ITS project management office for the city of Hamburg. So we are coordinating, introducing new projects regarding ITS, intelligent transport systems, and mobility. So all the mobility projects we have in our charge. So looking for new partners. So I'm very, very interested in learning what you or the other interesting panelists are telling about. And yeah, we're heading for the ITS World Congress next year, a big mobility and ITS conference. And so this is what we are coordinating to show all our projects. We have more than 150 in our list, 150 running projects. There is a lot, but there's still a lot of space for improvement in new projects. So I'm really looking forward to this meeting and to discuss what we're going for. Is it cars, is it people, or is it a bit of both?
Okay, thank you very much, Sasha. We can all see Lee, but she asked me not to unmute her because she is in a noisy environment. Or if it's quiet now, would you like to introduce yourself, Lee?
Yes, with pleasure. I'm Lee. I'm a project manager in the Israeli Smart Cities Institute and MBA student at the College of Management.
And she's very global, and she's looking to do a summer internship. And I grabbed the opportunity to tell you about it. She is really a real pro. So she will be able to be in touch with you, and maybe she can spend some time together in Hamburg. That would be great. So thank you, Lee, for joining me. Alone, I'm very unsafe and insecure on all of these digital platforms. Even though I have a PhD, I forgot to tell you, I have a PhD. I am doctor myself. I didn't put it on my name. In the interface between technology and society. So I should love technology, which I do, but I love to use it, not to operate it. So I always like to do things together. So thank you, everybody, and we'll quickly move forward. I guess that what will make all of us happy at the end of this panel is if we identify great opportunities to work together, just us and with the audience. We will take, after this round, we will take questions from the audience if there will be some. But I think that first we would like to get the others to understand why we are here and to understand what is so unique in the opportunities in collaborating with us. So again, I will start. I will say that I founded this NGO because I understood that municipalities are very miserable when it comes to identify what type of smart city they want to be or to become, and then what type of technology they need to choose in order to move as fast as possible to become smarter. And then they don't have enough money most of the time. So, what could be the new business models that we will be able to create what we call PPP, public private partnership? So, this is my passion. And anyone from Israel and from Hamburg who would like to collaborate with our experts in the Israel Smart Cities Institute on public-private partnership for people in cities with a focus on mobility, I am here always. You can get in touch with me or with Lee Sharir. So this is for me. Now let's go and hear from you. What will make you happy? What will be the opportunities that you like to identify, or the opportunities that you would like to offer? The floor is yours. You can use some slides, but usually I have to be honest with you. I have many years of experience in what I am doing. It's much nicer without slides. If you just tell us with all of your passion what is unique about your solution and what are the big opportunities to collaborate with you. So, who would like to go first? So, ladies first, I see Chemdat. The floor is yours.
Thank you.
Go ahead. Yes.
I want to share an interesting project of the Volkswagen Group that was recently published and would give you some inspiration, I think, as to the future of cities. So the Volkswagen Group, as I said, we're the subsidiary of the group here in Israel, has signed an agreement with the government of Greece to transform an island into, it's called Astyafalea Island, into a fully electric island. It's basically a super interesting vision. In the next 6 years, all the vehicles will be basically reduced and moved to fully electric. So the number of vehicles in the island will reduce from 1,500 today to 1,000. There will be ride-sharing platforms and different mobility platforms that will replace the current ones. And basically, the idea is to take this island and turn it into a model island for, I would say, the future city hub, whatever you want to call it, as the Volkswagen Group sees it. And what's fascinating is that a car producer, sees the future in this way, moving into more sustainable, climate-friendly, and even saying, the press release said very proudly that the island will reduce the number of cars. Imagine what it means for an OEM to say that, by a third. So this is just, I want to share it because it gives you a glimpse into what our group is looking at, into basically climate-friendly world, less CO2 emission, and all our vision and our activities are looking into that topic. So whether it's into producing 70 electrified models in the next year, and the group will invest 30 million euros to that end, whether it's moving into autonomous technologies, and even introducing mobility providers such as ride-sharing services, which we have in Hamburg, you have in Hamburg, not we, that is called Moya, and Hanover as well. And this transformation basically goes to show you how also an OEM understands, yeah, that the I would say the crisis that we're in, which is a climate crisis, a transportation crisis, needs to be changed, and with the help of all the players. So my point is that a car company like ours is also a player to that end. And I think that story of the island in Greece, you can look it up in the internet, is very fascinating to watch, and see in 6 years the result of this, I would say, laboratory. And maybe it can be duplicated into cities, and it's just a very inspiring project.
So what will make you happy? If cities approach you, if other stakeholders in the relevant ecosystem approach you, what will make you happy at the end of our panel? Yes.
A better world.
A better world.
But seriously speaking, we are based in the ecosystem. Israeli startups know us. We support our car brands. As I said before, Israeli startups can approach me, of course. We're very accessible. We're looking for technology in autonomous driving, electrification, in-cabin sensing, also cybersecurity. So everyone who has a solution that can support those topics is very welcome to approach us. And we match them to our car brands and basically bring to collaborative projects and POCs with Israeli startups.
Okay, great. So what I suggest is that you put on the chat the link to your company and maybe to your organization, and maybe if you want, you can later on share with the Israel Germany Chamber of Commerce, with Nina or with Sharm, your set of slides, and anybody who would like to get them will be able to get them. Okay?
Sure.
Is it allowed?
Yes.
Is it allowed to add on this?
Sasha, yes.
Yeah. If allowed, I would confirm this. What Hamlet mentioned, we have a very, very good partnership with Volkswagen since 5 years, and it's an ongoing partnership, memorandum of understanding, and regarding all the things she named. And actually, yeah, Hamburg is like an island. It's not as warm as that one in Greece, but the weather is, of course, wonderful here. The sun is almost always shining, at least 5 days a year. So it is a good partnership, and it's about using the data of the cars. It's mobility services like Moya, for example, and quite new services that we are allowed to experience here in Hamburg. We have a test track which is used by Volkswagen regarding autonomous driving. So it's a perfect partnership, almost perfect. Not everything is perfect, but most of the things we are doing. So we already have some. And if you have some new stuff to test here or to bring from Greece to us, or other way around, to bring me to the Greek island, I'm happy to do so.
I'm
happy to follow your invitation.
I took a note.
Great, that's lovely. We would love to go to Greece too. We have a great story from a great project we did in Cyprus, in Paphos. So I think that it's a natural evolution. If ISKI, that's our NGO, if it follows you into Greece, we would love it very much. Thank you both. anybody who would like now to tempt us to collaborate with them or to tempt the audience with what is unique. So I see that Itai raised his hand. So Itai, the floor is yours. Tempt us.
Thank you, Edna. So I also want to go to Greece. I think everybody wants to go outside his city in these crazy days. As I mentioned, we are a special hub. We are collaborating with the top Israeli startups and big international corporates. And I'm open, I would be happy to get connections from not only Israeli startups. Actually, in the next batch of the FAST, and this is the commercialization program that we will start in the beginning of 2021. This is the first time we will have probably a German startups joining us, and not only Israeli. So if every German startups that are in the smart city I would be happy to talk with them and to see if we can engage and help you. On the other side, big corporates that see an opportunity in working with Israeli startups and technology, please don't be shy and approach us. And also cities. We have in Drive more than 39 companies. A lot of them are approaching the smart cities, and they are very unique. We have companies such as No Traffic, that they have smart traffic lights that can help public transportation to move faster. We have a company called AD Night that can save lives with pedestrian. Everybody in the cell phone now, and when you cross sometimes the street, you don't see a truck or other vehicle. Those vehicles can get some alarm when pedestrians are crossing their road. We have another company that's called Waker. It's actually been published last week that they have a big collaboration with Volvo cars in the US, although that all the cars of Volvo sending information about slippery roads and problems in roads. This is go to the platform of Waker, and Waker move it to the big centers of traffic in each cities, including Waze. So think about that there is a slippery road, and you will get an announcement or a message, be careful. So that's another thing that can save life. And we have more examples, but I will leave the stage to other people. So
you
feel
can
free
add
to approach.
anything, any link you would like, you can add on the chat and people can copy it. So it's open for you, Itai. And again, if you want to send more material, I'm sure that the chamber would love it and will share it both in Germany and in Israel, both in Hamburg and in Israel. Okay, so thank you. Who would like to go next? Dr. Asaf Formosa. Go ahead, Asaf. Yes.
Thank you very much. So I know that in Israel, 70% of the people that commuting to work taking a private car. And if we think about it, a private car, it's something like 1.5 ton, even 2. I know some people that arrive to work with 2.5 ton vehicle. It doesn't make any sense if you think about it, to take a person with his belonging that altogether is less than 100 kilogram. So I know, and it's not just me, it's also municipalities, that today's cars are irrelevant for today's cities. They are great to drive intercity, between cities, but not in the city. And something very amazing that happened in the world, that municipality is going to take out a parking spot, and this is actually good in order to plan and create more green zones. The mayor of Paris mentioned that if she will be elected, she will take out 72% of the parking spots from the city, and she was elected. And this trend is happening in other places as municipalities are talking with us, with City Transformer, and also they came to us because they know that the City Transformer, when it's squeezed, when it shrinked, it's saves 75% of parking space. City Transformer is a micro-mobility, and this is something we will need more when we want to change the cities that we live in today in order to enjoy them, in order to have a cleaner air that we breathe, and also to be able to maneuver in the city and to save an hour a day and not be stuck in traffic or looking for parking, we need to do a revolution, okay, not evolution. And this is something that we are doing in City Transformer. Our partner, Professor Johan Tom Forde, that he is the father of the smart Daimler, Mercedes Daimler city car. When he joined us, he stated that we are doing a revolution as he has done it before with the smart. He believes that we are taking together the idea a few heads forward, and this is something, those kind of solution we need in the city, if you're talking about cities. And as you know, more than 50% of the world population lives in cities, and this number is growing. So we are talking about billions of people, 4.5 billion of people that live in the cities, and today they have just two options to maneuver in the city, and this is a change that we will see, I believe, and this is something that we are doing, and something that is very fascinating in Hamburg, because I know that in Hamburg there is something like 2 million residents, and they have 800,000 cars because people love to travel by their own. So personal mobility will stay. It depends how it will transform to a better solution, because today they have just, and it's not just, but 3,000 shared vehicles in Hamburg. In Israel, the numbers a little bit different, but there is a similarity if you're looking about Tel Aviv and its surrounding area.
Okay, thank you very much, Asaf. Philip, would you like, to tell us what will make you happy at the end of our panel?
Oh, I don't want to tell you what makes me happy, but at the end, first of all, I want to maybe answer the question that the audience might have. Why is someone representing an OEM for luxury and sports cars on a panel for future mobility? You could say there's a contradiction in there, but I think there's not. If you look at the last decades, I think we are all on the same page, and we agree that when it was about individual mobility, it was only about cars. And it also was a symbol for wealth and achievement. And now we experience a dramatic shift, which I totally approve of. But it's not an abrupt change, it is a shift. So you can see that not only Porsche, but all the other OEMs are in collaboration with a lot of startup companies, with a lot of companies that represented are here today, and obviously also new technologies, which is a good thing, because that's the only way how this is going to work. Because if I look out the window right now, the one thing I see is cars, right? So that's still the reality, even in urban cities. And also with moving to electric vehicles in order to, fight pollution and be CO2 neutral, it doesn't change the space, right? An electric vehicle still takes the same space as a combustion engine vehicle. It's just that there's no pollution anymore. So there's a lot of things going on, and obviously the OEMs participate, and they need to participate for their own future and their own future development. So maybe I just want to, dive into Hamburg, Porsche Hamburg, what we do here. Hamburg considers itself as a green city, right? So you could say, well, we have a very tough standing in the city, but that's why I mentioned that we actually had the permit to open up a dealership in the heart of the city 2 years ago. And I mean, Hamburg knows what they're doing. So obviously they see that we're part of the shift in an urban area. And we actively participate. So first of all, if you just look at the model lineup, the hybrid engines, and now we have a fully electric vehicle as well, which fits perfectly into Hamburg, which is the city in Germany with the most charging points in the whole of Germany, and I think even in Europe. Not quite sure about that, but I think even in Europe. And also, and this is a little bit what we do here, because as I said, I totally approve of the shift. And yes, representing a car manufacturer, I do say cars need to get out of the city more and more. But on the other hand, we see on a daily basis that there's still a high demand for personal, individual, and mobility and cars. So rising sales numbers across the world kind of underline this. And Asaf said it, obviously we have to differentiate between urban areas and suburban areas, because outside cities, I think a lot of people would literally be stranded without a car. That's just still reality today. Inside the city, a little different. So what do we do in order to participate in this shift? We have Sasha here from Hochbahn Hamburg, and we have a train station right outside our dealership. So when people bring their car to the dealership, we try to convince them not to take another car, but to use different mobility in order to get around the city, especially because we're in the heart of the city, until they're able to pick up their car again. So we provide our customers free train tickets in order to use the Hamburger Hochbahn. And because you can literally walk outside the door right into the train station, even without wearing a coat, because it's just so close. Then we had Moya mentioned early on from Hemdat. So we have a collaboration with Moya. They're there's a high density of Moya vehicles in Hamburg. And so we have this collaboration. People can sign up for the app. We get the bill for the Moya ride, but people are being picked up from a Moya bus right outside the dealership. And just recently, we launched something else, because I saw a question in the chat somewhere about bikes in Hamburg. So we actually have e-bikes and e-scooters here at the dealership that our customers can take in order to, they drop their car, their office is maybe only 2 kilometers away, so then they take the bike. So although we sell cars, I mean, this is what we do literally here. We actively participate in making the mobility in Hamburg a little more inhabitant friendly and less polluted. And I think this is a very good combination that we're able to show here. And it's also very much well received by our customers. As I said, this whole thing is a shift. And I think all these collaborations going on, all these ideas, and obviously it's a lot that Porsche is doing right now in their labs in terms of connected vehicles and smart mobility and other mobility solutions. We just have to see that the shift is also contribute to the last decades where we never talked about smart mobility. Now we have the technology and a little bit of the wisdom, so it's moving in the right direction, but also we shouldn't exclude classic OEMs, because that I think is the wrong approach and doesn't work. But I think that's something we all agree on. And with the example that we as a sports car manufacturer, we show in an urban environment, even on a direct customer level, there's possibilities to do this already today. Right? So happy to hear more about these solutions that we're actually already connecting to. So Hamburger Hochbahn, Moya, it's all been mentioned.
Thank you very much. I have to say that I do believe that complex challenges need complex solutions, and you described such a complex solution, and I really liked it very much. I would like to mention that there was another question on the chat, the one that had to do with AI. How do you see the role of AI in making mobility smarter, more effective, more efficient? Only those of you who see an opportunity to talk about this topic, of course, but I would like to highlight it was a question. Yes? Anyone wants to relate to AI? Itai? Yes, sure. And then I saw Sasha wanted to. AI and mobility. Yes, Itai.
First of all, Philip, do I have to have a Porsche to get your dealership in or I can come with my Volvo?
You're welcome with anything. You can come as a pedestrian. You can take the train. You can come with your Volvo, with your bike. The one thing that I'm telling you, you're gonna leave with a Porsche.
Oh, I love it.
I'm buying. Okay, it's good for me.
No, but anyway, we're happy to see you here.
Yeah, so I think it's a great initiative what you're doing. What you mentioned, that bringing alternative mobility option to your customers. And one day we will come. I want to talk, before I'm talking about AI, machine learning, and other big names of that. I want to go back to a little bit about the basic and about cities. In the end, using technology in cities. Why we're doing that? We're doing that because you have a different kind of aspect between tourism, business, and people that lives in the city. All along, in the end, everybody wants to, that the city will be much more, comfort, safely, hospitality, other, leisures. And in the end, technology is enabler to do that. Sorry if I'm giving an example about London, since I've been living there for a few years. But think about a city that you just travel or been there, and let's take London for an example. The mobility there, the traffic. You can move from one side of the city to another one in 20 minutes with the public transportation. It's very, very safe. It's very, very comfortable, and everybody loves to come back to cities that it's comfortable to move in and think about the city that you love. About technology, so I'm going back. Technology is enabler to make cities much more safer and comfortable. And there is a lot of great companies in Israel, but also in other places that can bringing those technology and helping the people that lives or travel in those cities. I'm talking about AI, for example. I mentioned a company that called Waker. So Waker using AI, using machine learning, using a very sophisticated technology to detect if there is an accident in the road and immediately, report it to the police, that everybody will be aware of that. And it's using not a million people of watching, screens. It's using technology to do it much more faster, and it actually saved lives. Why so? They're working in Las Vegas, and I've been there before the pandemic in January, and I've been talking with one policeman that told us that this technology can detect traffic accident 9 minutes before people calling to 911, to the rescue team. And those 9 minutes are crucial in some accident that there is some heavy injury. So in the end, we're talking about technology, but it can save life. And it's actually mentioned that it saved life for a few people back in 2019. So I think that's, what technology and AI, a small example, can bring and help cities and people.
Thank you very much.
Add something?
That, yes.
Yeah, I would like to add that continuing this discussion, I think it's basically not just the cars that make the traffic jams, and yes, there is too many cars in the roads, but as Itai mentioned, there's obstacles also in the road that cause that. There's traffic signals that are not SINGs, or inadequate green time, for example, too many trucks that enter the city. So there are ways to solve this with, of course, technologies like AI and data analytics, startups that can monitor traffic jams and alerts. So all these technologies can solve that. And my point here is that it's not just about the cars. There are also other factors that contribute to basically a traffic jam and congestion. So that's my point. And just to mention one project in Tel Aviv, we talk about a lot about Hamburg, but also Tel Aviv is moving through many, many changes. I myself, I'm a member of the director of one of the entities of Tel Aviv City called Global City Tel Aviv. And next year, this was a project that was published already. Our group, together with Mobileye, will basically have a pilot of robotaxis. And this was declared. Corona had somehow slowed it down. But as you can see, the city of Tel Aviv is also in the eye of our group as a potential pilot location. So hopefully we will learn about people's, I would say, acceptance to technologies of autonomous driving, how and they use it. And this pilot will, of course, serve the group in the overall autonomous future plans. So you could expect that, I hope, in the near future also in Tel Aviv.
Okay.
I wanted to mention something. First of all, family car, it's excellent, but for a family, 90% of the time there is one person in the car, so still, the volume, even if it's electric vehicle, it's take a lot of, not just the volume, the mass that you take with you, it's lots of energy. So even though you don't have a pollute in the city, it's pollute the air that we are breathing. And regarding maneuvering in the city, today, because of the pandemic, lots of individuals approach a city transformer in order to have a micro-mobility solution that is safe like a small car and able to maneuver and park as the motorcycle. At the end, if you will take Philip the Porsche in the city, or Itai the Volvo, or doesn't matter Hyundai i10, you still will be stuck in traffic, lose an hour a day. You know, a person in London loses in his car a month, a working month. This is more than the time he should be in the car to go to work and go back. So this is amazing if we look at the statistics. But regarding Hamburg, this is something that we might discuss later on, Philip. We have some discussion with Porsche already. But regarding the last mile solution, because a few cities also from Europe approached us, and we are going to start a pilot in Tel Aviv. After we will launch the first vehicle in IAA in Munich in September. Maybe later on we will also participate in the ITS Congress in Hamburg in October, who knows. But this is something that we might discuss the pilot. City Transformer, it's also best for shared mobility. It's very important later on that it will take a time to look maybe on a short video. It's not just the best option to maneuver in the city, it's also the skateboard or the foldable skateboard of the future, because as we understand it, lots of users from different sections approached us because you can easily customize different cabins for different users inside cities, like for a shared solution, for a small family, an adult with two small children in the back. For logistics, first aid response, we will start also a pilot with the largest first aid response in Israel, even though we have also an opportunity to do it in Miami. We will start in Europe and in Israel at the beginning. So we'll love to take later on to discuss it more.
Great, thank you very much. We had another question from the audience about the source of data for people who use the bicycles. Do you know anything about it? Would you like to respond to that? Or we move to another question? That's okay too. Anything? I can just add my own point of view regarding bicycles. For example, in Tel Aviv, we have a great company that makes it easy to take a bike and then leave it wherever you need to go. And it is very, of course, convenient. But here comes something interesting. When you want to move to another city, which is just around the corner, like Givatayim or Ramat Gan, you cannot do it. The same, by the way, with the cars, the autotel. You are supposed to take and leave it in the same place. So I would like to ask a larger question around it. What about mobility as service? And not necessarily to own everything, and maybe to go beyond the limits of the city and to look at the metropolitan, or maybe even to look at the country, Israel, or maybe in Germany to look at the EU. Why do we have to own uh, everything in order to be happy? What do you think about that? I see that Sasha would like to respond to this challenge. Yes.
Yeah,
Sasha.
yes, please, because we had that topic now a couple of times. Yes, we're talking about mobility as a service, about the alternatives to the private car. You might know that Hamburg has itself set the goal of mobility change. So the goal is, of course, a city with a maximum quality of life, and mobility is a crucial element. Maybe it's the element of a livable and lovely city. Of course, the focus is on the citizens. And of course, the city is for the people, not only for the cars, but cars may play a role in it. Maybe not the leading role, but there will be a role in a mobility system. Philip, for example, mentioned it. Maybe you do not need the car in the city center, but you might need it more in the rural areas or in the rural in the metropolitan area somewhere outside. So what we need is a variety of mobility services. All of the services, micro-mobility, car sharing, ride-hailing, like Moyas and all that stuff. We need the car, we need public transport as the backbone of all of this. And we already started a program in the city of Hamburg with this called, in English, we'll translate it more for Hamburg, like Hamburg sets the pace. It's the promise that you will get your mobility service in 5 minutes wherever you are in the metropolitan area of Hamburg. So not only in the city center, there you have already less than 5 minutes. You get the metro all 2 minutes or whatever, and you have bus fleets and all that. So we are increasing our bus fleet. We increasing the metro fleet. We need a lot of new bus depots. We increasing the fleets of Moya, of all the different shared services, and bringing this all together in our mobility app. And the strategic goal of Hamburg is that by 2030, the integrated public transport will have not only urban rail, bus, ferry services. We also are operating ferries as a Hoofdbahn, but also all these on-demand and private services, sharing services that can be used. And the customer, and that might be surprisingly, the customer experience in integrated public transport is consistently positive. In 2030, there is space for improvement, but this is what we are heading for. And the integrated public transport is the most obvious mobility option. It's a goal for 2030. So wherever you want to go, you don't think, I will use my car today, and then is there an alternative? You don't even should think about it in 2030. You just leave your house. You don't need a timetable or something, because you know that every 5 minutes there is a mobility option wherever you are. This is where we're going from. And this is why we need a lot of more of those private services and AI and all that, what you are all working on it.
I can mention something, Edna, that it's probably the first webinar in 1 year that the word COVID-19 wasn't mentioned in the last 15 minutes. I will take the honor of mentioning it. And why am I mentioning it? Because I think We all have this vision of up until COVID-19, of course, the concept was to move to mobility as a service. And as I said, Volkswagen Group itself has several platforms and looking into new business models there. But Corona obviously has shifted many of the usual users of public transportation and back into the private car because of the issue of sterility, because of the issue of health. And this is something we should look at and observe as Corona stays with us or moves, or I don't know what will happen, but we need to think about it. And obviously in Israel, the usage of the public transport has declined. Of course, car sharing the same. So we really need to think how the future will look with this topic. And we're looking into technologies, Israeli technologies that can make the car safer, virus-free technologies, sterilized materials, everything that will create a feeling of the passenger, driver, whoever, that will feel safer on that end. So I would just like us to remember that the COVID hasn't gone away. And so we'll have to see the habits of people when using public and shared transportation.
Thank you, Hemdat, for bringing it on. Anybody would like to add to something specific to the Corona times we all live in? Asaf, yes, go ahead.
So first of all, I agree. This is why also companies like City Transformer, we are now dealing and coating the surfaces with antibacterials and anti-virus surfaces. Also some options to sterilize the car between different people that will enter the cars, because we see ourselves as a service mobility providers and later on autonomous service mobility provider. We are currently working with one of the three leading companies in the world about autonomy to become autonomy service providers, mobility service provider in 2026, currently in tracking obstacles, ADAS, and then autonomy level 2 and go on till full autonomy. And we believe that people will need to share this solution, especially the City Transformer, even though because of pandemic, lots of people approach us that they want a private City Transformer. We want them to share the City Transformer and we will share revenue with them because there is no need, even though it saves 75% of parking space, that they will use it 1 hour a day. And even less because they will commute much faster in the city. They won't be stuck in traffic or waste time on parking. Today we are talking with Tel Aviv about to park it in a motorcycle parking spot, not just everywhere that they can, and they will be able also to do it, of course. And also today, as you know, in Israel, you can drive with a motorcycle in public transportation roads. So City Transformer, we are discussing also with the authorities to give the same benefit, and we will do it also in Europe, because when you squeeze, you have the safety of a small car, but also you are at the same footprint of a motorcycle. So of course, we are looking about the pandemic, because we want people to be able to share those solutions, either if it's for last mile solution, or to share it in the city, even if they own the car, the vehicle.
Thank you very much. We have only 2 minutes to go, so I will let Philip say something.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So first of all, I really enjoyed 30 minutes without having the pandemic on the agenda at all. So thanks for that, Hamdat.
Always here to remind us of reality.
Yeah. So, but I just want to, encourage everybody that I think this whole transformation we're in will not be stopped by the pandemic or by Corona. I'm very sure about this. This is maybe a little road bump that we have to now feel. But as much as we're working on vaccines right now in order to get on top of the pandemic, everybody else and all their businesses, we can see that on a daily basis, is doing everything to live with the new normal. And now we have COVID-19. At some point we may have COVID-22. I don't know, right? So we have to face these challenges, and I think in the end, customer needs will prevail. And we will support this change. I think everybody that's here, and we just need to come up with new solutions. That's what I'm saying. It's just a road bump. So I just want to, encourage everybody that despite the pandemic, I think, we're doing the right things. It's the right development, and it won't be stopped. It's just, a few things that we need to add to the journey right now.
Okay, we need to finish because it's 12. So I would like to thank all of you. I would like to hope that it's just a beginning of a wonderful friendship, that we can stay in touch with each other and maybe with people from the audience who would like to stay in touch with us. I agree, mobility will stay maybe the #1 challenge in the next years with the pandemic, after the pandemic. And I would like to thank you all for being so kind and flexible. And I enjoyed the conversation very much. I hope all of you did too. Thank you, the Chamber of Commerce, German Israel, for supporting this collaboration of all of us. Stay safe. Stay safe.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye, everyone. Thanks.
Well, and here I am again. We've heard a lot about the hot topics, hydrogen and mobility this morning. What is happening in both sides of the medal, in Hamburg and in Israel. We've already started to build some very fruitful exchange and connections yesterday between Hamburg and Israel, with a workshop on how Hamburg as a business location for entrepreneurs and startups, as well as financial and governmental incentives, can play an important role. We want to do this today again, today on rather the topic hydrogen and mobility. And surprise, surprise, you will see me throughout the next hour as well. Nonetheless, it's my duty for the very last time on this Hamburg on Tour event to highlight menti.com. So far, thank you for all your questions. It had worked very well also during the morning hour. Very active audience, so we are very happy about that. Final announcement, go on the QR code or go on menti.com, and it's a new and very final code here. It's 5677562. We will now, as always, during the last hours, watch a nice video, and after the video, it's the Director of International Investments at Hamburg Invest, Stefan Matz, taking over. And I'm also looking forward to my new role as a panelist. So enjoy the video and the upcoming hour.
Hi, my name is Ricardo. I'm the one of co-founders and CEO of AptiSense, and we won the Future Hamburg Awards. And we are here today in Hamburg to redeem this award. Right, so what we do at AptiSense is a software for surveillance cameras that is able to understand behaviors of people and vehicles without identifying them. I found the city of Hamburg very, very modern. It's a great place to start our business. For the next 3 days, we are going to meet with companies in logistics, transportation, also companies related with the incubation, acceleration of startups, and coaching and workshops. We are very excited to meet the police here in Hamburg. We are very surprised how open they are to innovation. That's not very common in other countries, even in Portugal. So we are very excited to see how this is going to happen. So joining this award was an incredible experience. this is not just an honor that you can put on your website, receiving this award, because this award is really something that is very practical. It helps us actually grow in this country. Here, they are very open. They are open to try new things. They're open to digitalization. In just 3 days, I have some time, of course, to visit the city. The city is beautiful. And in terms of business, in just 3 days, we are able to, in the first meeting with the potential customers, they are open to start testing right now. There is no barrier in a culture. They speak English very well. It was very easy to communicate, even with the government institutions. So I'm going to leave Hamburg with potential customers, in which they are going to continue the conversation with us, the testing, and see how things going to happen. So that's why very soon I'm going to be in Hamburg again, because we're going to continue to work with those companies.
Yes, hello from my side. Good morning to everybody. Early good afternoon to Tel Aviv. In Hamburg we have 3 degrees, I think. In Tel Aviv I think we have 20 or something like that. Nice weather. So we are getting ready for winter. And we are now in the last session of Hamburg on Tour 2020 in Tel Aviv. It is my pleasure to take over the job as the moderator. We had another session yesterday where I did that already. So I look forward to a number of questions. First of all, I look forward to hearing the speakers of today's event. We will talk about Hamburg as a hotspot of business in the northern part of Germany. We will talk about benefits that can be granted to entrepreneurs from Israel settling down in Hamburg. We will introduce Eyal Meir, who has a very personal story to tell, working worldwide in the automotive section, and meanwhile he came to Hamburg, is working here, and like you told me before, you highly appreciate German wintertime. We look forward into hearing more about some tax issues and some issues about how we as Hamburg Invest can support, in particular for startup enterprises. And Evgeny is joining with a session also introducing our support. Veronika, we start with you. Veronika is participating in many sessions. I saw you as a moderator. I saw you yesterday as one of our speakers. It's my pleasure that you are with us today again on this session also. Veronika is in charge of our startup unit. She is the director of Hamburg Invest Startup Unit. Veronika has a quite international background, as I know. You have been not only traveling a lot, you have also been working in other countries. You have been working in Belgium, for example, Brussels. I know that you have been many times in Israel, that you are in favor of the country and also the city Tel Aviv. And we appreciate that you give us some deep insight in startup industry.
Great. Thank you very much. My name is Veronika Reichbus, as Stefan just pointed out correctly. And I'm also the colleague of Stefan and Evgeny, who's going to tell you a little bit about established companies and possibilities after it. So as Stefan mentioned correctly as well, my field of expertise are startups, and especially the startup ecosystem in Hamburg. But I also had the pleasure of seeing many other ecosystems in the world, including the one of Tel Aviv. For a few years, it was my personal pleasure to just travel around and actually attend startup events around the world. So I have quite a broad knowledge of startups and ecosystems, and I would like to share some of the insights of the Hamburg ecosystem, what makes the ecosystem unique, and especially since this is a focus, or with this event that took place yesterday and today, we have a particular focus on logistics and mobility. I'm going to shed light on some of the possibilities you have as startups in Hamburg. For this, I'm going to share my screen now. And so welcome to the Startup Hotspot Hamburg, as we like to call it. And this is just an overview of actually more or less all the offers that are available, not just for logistics and mobility, but general. Let me just say, I'm in my position for more or less 5.5, almost 6 years for the city of Hamburg, and I've seen the startup ecosystem of Hamburg develop tremendously. And this is more or less the current view, what offers and possibilities there are. Hamburg is in case you're not familiar with Hamburg, Hamburg is the second largest city of Germany. It has roughly 1.8 inhabitants. It's also a city-state. I believe Yevgeny is going to tell you a little bit more about the outlook as Hamburg as such, so I'm not going to dive into that too much, but I just want to tell you that it's a big city with a lot of startup offers, especially in the past years. There have come a lot of offers, and this trend is, despite Corona, of course, continuously thriving or keeping ongoing. And then what do we do with the startup unit? The startup unit, as I mentioned, as Stefan mentioned before, is part of Hamburg Invest. Hamburg Invest is the regional business development entity of the city of Hamburg. And as such, we are a public institution, and we provide orientation. And well, one of the things that it's really unique for Hamburg, and we learned this throughout the panels today, is that Hamburg has a very strong economy. So it has a very diverse sector of branches. Some of them are there traditionally, some of them has come quite recently, but all of these are grouped in such called clusters. So clusters are networks, and these are the networks that are available or that are taking place in Hamburg. And for startups, of course, this is a great breeding ground and or a great possibility of getting in touch with potential clients. So all of these networks, I would like to call them, they offer events, they offer specific services. A few of them I will mention in a second. And as you can see, I have emphasized on this. It's Hamburg Aviation. And the aviation sector has roughly 300 companies in Hamburg. Then a logistics initiative, quite huge, 11,700 companies. The maritime cluster, I had the joy of moderating a panel yesterday. I focused on the innovation. Well, on the maritime innovation. So there's roughly 2,000 companies in Hamburg and also the neighboring states. So some of these clusters don't just focus on Hamburg, but also on the neighboring federal states. And then renewable energy. Early today, we had a panel on hydrogen. So these are some of the possibilities that are also applicable for startups if they're in Hamburg, but of course also if they find Hamburg attractive and would like to see what offers there are. I would always say these networks are a great start. And then also if we go away from the, well, let's say traditional sectors, there's also Hamburg is also very strong in future matters. I'm not going to mention all of these, just AI. There's a lot of stuff happening in the field of artificial intelligence at the moment. ARIC, mentioned on the right, is actually a public institution public institution giving service to startups and companies that want to familiarize themselves more with the field of AI, but also Hamburg is a private initiative who, for instance, have a Slack group. They host, I think, weekly events, of course, at the moment digital, for people that or startups, founders who want to familiarize themselves with the field of AI. Also, blockchain is very big in Hamburg. I'm mentioning these two because there's some relevance for the mobility and logistics field. And yesterday, for instance, in a workshop similar to this one today, there was Omri Erez, who is a co-founder of CoinX, an investment company based in Hamburg, focusing on cryptocurrency and blockchain. And also there's, these are also networks from a Hamburg definition, they are not clusters, but that's a very Hamburg specific definition. I don't want to bore you with. So for you, important is that these are networks and a great starting point for startups or founders. And then also in addition to the networks I just mentioned, of course, there is a variety of possibilities for startups in Hamburg. So we have company builders, we have labs and hubs, we have accelerators and incubators. These terms, they more or less like common in the startup terminology. Some of these are not clearly the one or the other. Just like company builders, I believe you know what they are, but if you don't, like a company builder it's a program that that forms startups in a way. And then labs and hubs, it's more like a physical location where startups can come together and work on their products, possibility with corporates or not. Accelerators, it's like kind of like a university or school program with the idea to make startups really market fit and really accelerate the business model very fast. And then incubators, also no clear definition. Sometimes an incubator is a little bit like a company, but an incubator is really like driving innovation from one sector or from one company, if you want so. So let me just quickly tell you a few things that are most relevant for startups from the logistics and mobility field. So we have the HK100, HK100, which is a co-working place, accelerator or business builder based in Hamburg, in one of the fields where there's a lot of industry somehow. And it's particularly focused on startups from the field of logistics and mobility. Then also we have yesterday, we had Marius Eschen from the Hamburg Port Authority with us. And Marius Eschen is currently working on a program called HomePort, which is to create a real-life testing ground for startups in the maritime field. So if you have a startup and you really test it in a port like situation, so the HPA is your partner. And then also the Startup Logistic Radar, that's an offer coming out of the logistic cluster, the network I mentioned before. And here the idea is to bring the partners of the cluster, so the SMEs, the small and medium-sized companies that are part of the network together with startups, but also, of course, help startups find customers. And they do this by networking events or keeping database of startups and the specific needs of the companies. And then also Digital Hub Logistics, very important. Our partner of the event today, Johannes Berg, did the moderation for today and yesterday. He will tell a little bit about his space in a minute, so I'm not going to elaborate on that. I'm just going to mention it, that it's a very important hub in Hamburg. And then also the two final ones I'm going to quickly just mention is Plug and Play. Livia was also in the hydrogen panel today. Plug and Play has the headquarters for logistics and supply chain in Hamburg. And they do a program biannually, and they focus on startups from the field of supply chain, logistics, retail, sustainability, and smart cities. And they also, I think Livia mentioned, they're also looking for hydrogen startups. So if you have a hydrogen startup also, you may get in touch with them. And then Airbus BizLab is also having one of the global accelerators in Hamburg. So they're based also in Toulouse, Madrid, and Bangalore in India. But in Hamburg, they also have one site. And of course, as you can see in the name, they've closely associated with Airbus, so they focus on startups innovation in the aviation or airspace sector. So just a quick run through. If you want to know more about this program or programs, or be put in touch directly with the people in charge of it, I'm more than happy to connect you. Well, Of course, events and conferences are very important. These are just a few. There's much more happening in Hamburg. ITS, very important, will take place in Hamburg next year. I'm having my fingers crossed big times that it will be a physical event and not an online event. Johannes, I believe, will also mention a little bit more about this. He's involved in the whole conference much more than I am. And then also for people from or startups, founders from the mobility sector, Wunder Mobility Summit was a summit which is 1.5 days, started from one of our most successful startups from the mobility sector called Wunder. And I'm just going to show this. So if you have more questions about the conferences, please do contact me. I don't want to take too much time here. Just quickly, in case you're wondering what are successful startups from Hamburg, one of them is Free Now. You may read the content here. I'm not going to elaborate that. I think I'm already like over time. I'm the first one, so I don't want to take the other people's time. So Wunder Mobility, I just mentioned them, great startup from Hamburg. And of course, see you in Hamburg. And yeah, my name is Veronica. You find my name underneath. I'm on LinkedIn. I think that's the easiest way to connect with me. And I'm happy to put you in touch with any of the offers mentioned or people. Thank you. That's it.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Veronica. Thank you very much for also showing so many logos. I think I rarely saw any presentation with so many logos on it. Great. And like you mentioned, and like it has been mentioned before, we are very available and very interested in questions later on. You can now file your questions on Menti according to the code. Johannes has introduced that. I'm going through the questions later on, and we put that at the end of the session for a discussion with you as the audience. Let me now get over to the next speaker, Johannes Berg. Johannes is also the general moderator of Hamburg on Tour this year. Johannes was born in Hamburg, and Johannes is today the managing director of the Digital Hub Logistics in Hamburg, which is 1 out of 12 digital competence centers in Germany. I recently saw a statement Johannes gave saying that in terms of logistics and mobility, Germany is playing in the Champions League, but the challenge will be that we will have to get logistics and mobility greener. Johannes himself has a quite international background. You got your education, you studied not only in Germany, actually in Dresden, in the eastern part of Germany, a very nice city, but also in Amsterdam, in Mexico, in Russia, in South Africa. Consequently, you are fluent in 5 or 6 languages, I think. And you've been working for TÜV Nord in their Brussels office as director and also for semiconductor company NXP. Johannes, the stage is yours, and we will hear something from you about how the hub can support expansions in Europe. Stage is yours.
Thank you, Stefan. And on a private side note, the time in Brussels was also coincidental because that's where I met Veronica, and we also met each other again then in Hamburg, which was quite nice. So thanks for the intro, Stefan, and for the presentation, Veronica. And to everybody watching, yes, I do have a regular job besides moderating and telling people to use Menti, which is managing the digital hub logistics in Hamburg, which Vero has shown on one of her slides. If you're a startup or an entrepreneur and you want to internationalize and you want to come to a city like Hamburg, I think over the last 2 days it has become clear that Hamburg Invest and that many institutions are doing a great job to support you and to help you to enter the city of Hamburg and therewith also Germany. What we've also heard this morning and also yesterday, logistics, mobility, hydrogen, maritime, these are 4 pillars that are incremental and very, very important to Hamburg's economic ecosystem. And because Stefan has rightfully said, I said that once in logistics and mobility, Hamburg is really playing in the Champions League. We want to maintain that position, and we can only maintain that position if we open up and invite people from around the world, from Europe, but in particular from Israel also to come to Hamburg and explain their ideas, throw in challenges, start their business in order to, and I say that along the entire logistical value chain, improve processes, bring new products to the Hamburg port or to the Hamburg aviation site or to the city logistic challenges that Hamburg is facing, or also bringing in a technology that may be a little bit far-fetched from logistics, but can change a whole business model. So we've seen a few startups here at the Digital Hub Logistics that applied some algorithm work to a small and medium enterprise, and that enterprise had said, well, I can turn around my business and open up a completely new business model. That being said, what do? We are a safe harbor, so to say, an anchorage point when you and your idea, your business in logistics or mobility come to Hamburg. And besides all that bureaucratic and administrative assistance that you get by people like Stefan or Yevgeny will also talk about that, or Veronica, you need a place where you can settle, and I always say where you can start to feel at home with your idea and your team. And for logistics and mobility, that place is the Digital Hub. We have over 60 startups working, of course, over the last month, more or less in our physical space. And we bring these startups together with people from corporates that also work here. The group logistics of Volkswagen, Lufthansa, DHL, our port terminal operator, HHLA, the Port Authority, just to mention a few. They also have working space here, and all we basically do is we create a certain glue that these people meet, that these people exchange ideas, that a large corporate is saying, hey, let's run a prototype together, or let's work together on a software that can later on help to run a new business model from our corporate point of view. We also are very fortunate that the city of Hamburg is a minority shareholder in this Digital Hub. That being said, we are a privately run company who's also walking the startup talk, because we also need to develop and maintain a business model that is working, hence earning money. Nonetheless, the city of Hamburg is part of us and opens up doors to publicly owned companies in logistics and mobility that can also provide a test bed for ideas. So if your startup from Israel comes to Hamburg and says, hey, I have a great idea in the area of blockchain for logistics or in the area of remotely piloted vehicles, we will call the airport, we will call the Hamburg Port Authority, we will call all our corporate partners to sense whether there's an interest to at least sit together and maybe at a later stage develop a joint project together. It's not only talking. We've done that over 40 times successfully, where a large corporate in one way or another works together with a startup. And it's also important to say what we don't do. We don't support you when you want to set up or incorporate here in Hamburg, but we do support you whenever you need a safe harbor and a place to work from, and a network, a very fast growing and agile network to tap in. So you're all very, very welcome to jump on www.digitalhublogistics.hamburg and find out more, or just click on LinkedIn and all the information will flow. I hope this gives you a good update and proves that we do more than announcing Menti.
Thank you very much, Johannes. Thank you very much. When I see you standing in front of that wall, I was wondering, are you really standing outside? No, you're not standing outside. You're standing inside your office, and I may say that your office and your location really has a very special charm, combining old and new, and everybody, when traveling is possible again, should really come over, have a personal look. Thanks again, and I hope we will have some interesting questions. I just followed on the Menti first questions coming in, so we will head on to leave some time for the discussion. That leads me over to Eyal. Eyal was born in Tel Aviv. Eyal started his career working in the automotive section in 2010. You started at that time with a small startup with an interesting name, Better Place. And as far as I understood, Better Place has a special technology that is extending the outreach, the range of electric vehicles. And actually, they even sent you in 2011, they sent you to China to set up the operation over there. You were living in Guangzhou, which is in the southern part, close to Hong Kong. And after working for them in China, you still joined some other tech companies from Israel, taking you to several places within China. Then you moved to another interesting place, to Hamburg actually, some years ago, 2 years ago, and you took over a position working for an automobile company in the leader technologies. That will be something that probably you introduced to us. What is the leading edge with that technology? Well, you have been living many years in China. You are fluent in Mandarin. That's what I heard. Therefore, ni hao yao. 现在我们很期待你的介绍。
哈哈，我很惊讶你的中文是挺不错的。So, hello everyone.
Could shift back into English. Let us
yeah, I know.
your personal experiences about your perspectives for your business, and then go into discussion.
Yeah, so it's true. I'm born and raised in Tel Aviv. I started my career in a startup. As you said, it was very big and famous at the time, actually. I don't think there's an Israeli who doesn't know a Better Place, who eventually failed. Many say it's because it was ahead of its time, as some companies today are already actually adopting this kind of model. That was like my initial footstep in the automotive industry. Then on, it's true, I went to China to set up a visitor center there, and then worked for another couple companies in Israel in the fields of telematics, which is a sort of a vehicle fleet management technology, and also an enhanced vision for autonomous vehicles. So I worked in a few companies in Israel, and always had the position of working for Israel companies, startups, working either in China, or sent me there to work for their subsidiaries, and also with China, doing negotiations, development with OEMs and tier ones in the automotive industry. And then I moved to Germany 2 years ago, and now close to 6 months, I'm living in Hamburg, working for Ibeo Automotive Systems, which is providing or developing a LiDAR technology for the autonomous vehicle market. To make it simple, a LiDAR technology is pretty much a laser scanner or a laser radar that you put in the vehicle, shoots a lot of light beams into the space. These beams are hitting whatever they're hitting in the scenario, coming back, and pretty much creating a 3D mapping, which enables the vehicles to drive autonomously without detecting all the obstacles and not hitting anything. Also very short, just for the audience who is not in this industry, let's say in general terms, there's 3 technologies in the vehicle, or already in current vehicles and in the future vehicles, that allow autonomous vehicles to run on the roads. One is cameras. Very big company in Israel, everybody knows Mobileye, which is an Intel company that is providing cameras. You have a radar, which is very good for long distance and big objects, like if there's a truck in front of you. And I don't know if anybody here, and I'm sure in the audience, you've driven vehicles that can stop automatically, autonomously, and brake before a vehicle. So that's the radar. And the most innovative, I would say, or most, let's say, cutting edge is LiDAR out of them, since camera and radar are already mature for many, many years now, and LiDAR is actually just now becoming an integrated thing in the vehicles. So sorry for taking time about that, but just I think it's good to clarify. And then, so my personal experience, which is interesting here, I think, is that I used to always work in Israel, working with Chinese companies, and now I am the foreigner in Germany working with foreign company, again with a Chinese OEM, and that's very interesting for me. For me, very, very surprising was that I had some doubts about when I moved to Hamburg, and I moved for personal reasons to Hamburg. I didn't know if I would find that kind of industry and kind of company which would accept me as an international in Hamburg. I had some people telling me Hamburg is a more traditional place than, for example, Berlin or something like that. But then I was surprised for the better to find out that it's not. I mean, Ibeo Automotive Systems, for example, is a super international company. We have people from all over the world. And even when I get on a meeting on Teams, we do it nowadays, right? So we're at home. I get on a meeting on Teams, and even if there's 5 or 6 people that happen to be only German speakers, they will speak English, all of them in the meeting. So let's see how they really, accept you as a foreigner international. Where another surprising fact for me that we are before I started and after I started, I found out we are a self-organized company. So I think it's some people may call it holacracy. So it's completely flat hierarchy, which makes it a really nice and good environment to work in. You really feel like you have your back from all sides when approaching the customer, and that really comes with with good intention and less of, let's say, like in other companies in the past, maybe some elbow atmosphere that might happen. Everybody's seen it before. So these are things that I was really surprised to find out coming to Hamburg. When I was searching for a job, I also ran into, you mentioned, for example, food and mobility and other mobility as a service companies and the micro mobility industry that is also integrated in the city. So so I really recommend coming to Hamburg and checking it out. I can say, I don't know how much time do I have left, but the last thing I can say is that I actually see perfect synergy for startups in Hamburg and startups Israel to cooperate within the automotive industry to supply products and co-develop for external companies if it's China or anywhere else. Because I really see a good synergy between Israeli and German companies, especially startups. I really see the disadvantages or advantages like completing each other. And maybe I can elaborate on that. I don't know if I have time already. So.
Yep, no problem. Another minute or two.
Yeah, so I mean, in Israel, good and bad, in my personal experience, and it's of course a personal experience, it's a very ad hoc kind of environment. So we have problems, we solve them ad hoc. Also, the hiring process in Israel, for example, I mean, I think everybody knows in Israel, when you need a new employee, in 1 month he's in the company. So once you've decided to hire, in 1 month you hire the person, and he will hire to solve a problem or to go into a team to tackle something right away. In Germany, Germans know that usually the hiring process is longer. In Germany, the notice period many times is 3 months. It takes longer to hire the person, and therefore also the strategy is a bit different. So you may really plan a bit longer ahead. The processes are different, and it's a more strategical, big machine moving forward, covering all ends, versus an Israeli solution that will cover everything needed, but also really ad hoc. And I really see advantages and disadvantages on both ends. And I would really see a perfect synergy for both cultures or companies coming from both cultures corroborating in order to provide products and development for external companies and customers.
Thank you very much, also for ending with this very personal appreciation. And I totally agree. I think there's plenty of room for cooperation. The world is getting closer together anyway, not only in digital terms, hopefully soon again also in terms of physical meetings. And I think there's plenty of room for operation and cooperation. We will have some interesting questions later on. I'd like to hand over to Yevgeny. Yevgeny, who is actually from our team Hamburg Invest. Yevgeny is in charge of several countries and has a very strong approach also towards Israel. I think you have been there 2-3 times with the delegation and just for
together with Veronica. Together with
Veronica also, yes. So we see the links to Veronica are getting closer and closer. Everybody seems to meet her. Perfect. You have been working with us for 9 years, Yevgeny. You got your education primarily in Germany, but you also spent some time in Canada. Sometimes you have been in St. Petersburg. You have a very strong relation to many countries. You like traveling, and you tell us something about how Hamburg could be your gateway to Europe. Stage is yours.
Thank you, Stefan. Thank you for this introduction. Hello again from me. Really happy to attend this second day and tell you more about Hamburg and have this interesting exchange. I hope you are not getting bored of all this information. And now I would like to share my screen. Just a moment.
Below full screen, I
Do you
guess.
see the full screen or not? Yes.
Two charts now. At least I see two charts. Yeah, now we see full screen. Perfect.
Okay, great. Yes. So yesterday we were in touch with a lot of figures about Hamburg and learned about Hamburg as a very dynamic business destination and about largest domestic market and aviation hotspot, and that the port of Hamburg is under the top 20 ports worldwide, and so on and so on. And today we replace several slides and add some practical stuff for you. Maybe it will be also interesting. And so it's known to us that Israelis like Hamburg, but they like also Berlin, and it's absolutely understandable. And we learned also from Eyal that it was also this discussion, Hamburg or Berlin, what is a better place, or what is benefits of each place. So we know about this deep and good relationship between Berlin and Tel Aviv, and Berlin is indeed excellent location, very visible city, capital of our country, and then brings more impact abroad. But nevertheless, Berlin and Hamburg were under competition and compare each other sometimes. And maybe this slide with statistics data might be helpful for you by your additional steps in the case you would like to do more in Germany. You see Berlin is double the size of Hamburg, but with almost the same level of GDP outcome, and the spending capacity is in Hamburg higher than in Berlin. But for example, this is the retail spending capacity of Berlin with almost 22,000 is also German average. So if you calculate all federal states together and divide this, you will get this number of 22,000. So absolutely. So altogether, both good numbers, good locations for living and doing a business. So is this a slide also from yesterday, our inspiration slide with labels and headquarters and hidden champions and sub-companies based in Hamburg. Who missed this part yesterday can take a look. Please also take in the account the brand of Olympus. You will find it on the left corner, a little bit on the top left corner. And Olympus started by with support of our Hamburg Invest. And in the beginning, they had just a small office with 2 employees, and after that, the company have grown rapidly, and they have now, I guess, around about 2 employees at the moment, and we are really proud about the success story of the company, like also of other companies in.
Sorry for interrupting. You wanted to say 2,000 employees.
Yes, and what did I say?
You said 2.
10,000. No, 2,000. Yeah, sorry. You know, I was
2.5 to 3,000. Sorry for interrupting.
Yeah, thank you, Stefan. Thank you. So another impressive slide that reflects our community and our partner network of the Hamburg Invest. So if you see us like in the middle of the slide, and our network is around us, see all institutions with services they provide, which could be helpful and useful for companies we connect to, like Chamber of Commerce with approval matters and residency issues they deal with, banks and with the loans and account issues and so on, embassies of countries we guide. So clusters, other government agency like Hamburg Port Authority, Hamburg Marketing, Hamburg Tourism, and so on. I guess really very clear summary of that reflects exactly our daily job. And so yesterday we received several feedbacks that participants would like to know more about the company foundation's procedure. And you see this simple schedule, how it should be done. You see like steps you might go through. In my opinion, it's more correctly to do is it over such kind of professionals like lawyer agencies or consultant agencies to avoid mistakes by handling everything by yourself. As example, you just contact or go to the lawyer agency and then charge him for package solutions, included all these steps, and get at the end like a established company where you can just to start your business with that. So because if you jump from one box to another box, it can be really challenging for you. I miss just a box with a tax advisor. Here, the tax advisor has just to filling the opening balance and apply for the tax number. And very quick, another topic what was asked yesterday about getting residency in Germany. So to cut the story short, directly after establishing of the company, you can apply for a residence permit in Hamburg. And for this application, you have to add a business plan that should be created, some kind of the descriptions, what you want to do, what you plan to do in the 1, 2, 3 years, your assets and so on. And the main advantage that Israelis can do it directly in Hamburg. This is application procedure. It is very big exception that exists for 7 nations. And it is very convenient. It's very convenient because otherwise you have to stay in the native country and apply there and wait for the answer. And after that, it's like allowed to come to Germany and start with everything. And after 3 years being here and leading a company, we hope very successfully, the entrepreneur can apply for unlimited residence permit. So yes, it was a very quick run, and hope for the discussion after that, and shift back to you, Stefan.
Thank you, Evgeny, for introducing all these very interesting aspects. And like we said before, we are happy if you get in touch with us. Just Google Hamburg Invest, then you see our pictures, our contact data, everything. So highly appreciate if we will follow up on that later on. That leads me to our last speaker today, Ophir Angel from Oren, Israel. Oren is one of the leading international consulting and auditing companies. Ophir started his career about 20 years ago. He was working internationally on consulting and on business development. And Oren is a member of an international network which is called Antea. And I have to mention, Ophir is also the chairman of Antea. Antea is a global network including more than 300 offices in over 70 countries worldwide. Ophir, you will tell us something about grants and benefits for entrepreneurs expanding their business abroad. The stage is yours.
Thank you, Stefan. Just let's put up the slides. I hope you see that. It's okay?
Yep.
Great. So following yesterday, we explained about how we assist companies coming from Israel to Germany, establishing legal entity, taxation and such. With our branch, we have a branch in Hamburg and we have an office in Tel Aviv. And after hearing all the speakers yesterday and today, let's say one of the interesting topic is, okay, how can we finance that? Or how can we finance the first step into a different country, in this case, into Hamburg? And I will try briefly to give you some ideas and recommend at least 1 or 2 plans that or structures of doing that that hopefully you didn't know and now you will be more familiar with. So As yesterday I mentioned, usually everything is starting with some kind of a business plan. And the business plan will discuss about strategic, marketing plan, financing, and marketing tools. So briefly, I will go directly to the finance, just to focus us in the last minutes of this conference. I'm assuming that you already structure your business plan, and you saw that you have an economic feasibility. And if not, of course, you can come consult with us, with the guys in Hamburg Invest, and we'll see together how to direct you in the right direction so your plan will be able to finance itself with your internal sources. But most often you will go also to recruit money for the first investment from external funding, and you know the obvious one. You have private investors, and we are handling investment banking, so we can connect you, all of us in this session probably can connect you with people that would like to have some interest and invest. No doubt Stefan can do that, and the rest of the colleague, and we are at Auren in Israel. All of you know venture capital and also the traditional banking system. You can get loans from the bank, from insurance company and such, and all of those we will be happy to assist. But my focus in the next 3 slides is the Israeli government grants and loans that you can receive, assisting you penetrate a new market as Hamburg, especially grants for that, and especially all kind of government tools that are assisting you in that. Let me take you for 3 examples, just mentioning that you have more than 20 different options of grants, 2025 during a year that the Israeli government is giving for entrepreneur or for senior companies, but I will focus on 3. The first one is for new exporters. This is the definition, but the idea is for Israeli entrepreneurs that want to go to Hamburg. Then the government have a specific plan that allows you to receive a grant/loan depending on the criteria, only for marketing. I was talking initially about business plan and such. So you know that the basic business plan is standing on one big pillar of marketing, how you're bringing your product or your IP or your idea and R&D to Hamburg and how to go into the market. So you need all kind of marketing tools, starting from a good web page and also paying for all kind of consultings, assisting you getting into the market. This is the target of the financing of the money that the Israeli government is giving you, and it's called in Hebrew, it's Shalav. You see the initials in the title, International Marketing Gateway. And you can see in my slide, let's say the purpose of this financing, actually very basic financing, assisting company coming to Hamburg. And I think that it's quite nice because this program is it's easy to get the money. The criteria is not very difficult. Well, you need to know how to fill up the forms and to submit the application, but in that case, we'll be happy to assist. And I think that with this small amount of money, 300,000 shekels, you will be able also to contact with Hamburg Invest and to develop your activity in Hamburg locally. So this is a good example. A lot of entrepreneurs are not aware of this option, and I can say very carefully that it's easy to receive this amount of money. And the second one is for experienced exporters. If you already have some activity abroad and you want to penetrate a new market as Hamburg, which can serve you as a good getaway to Germany and to the rest of Europe, this is part of the advantages of Hamburg. So you have here again money that the government is giving you for the specific penetration of the market, assisting you getting to a new market. Now you can see that we are talking about 500,000 shekels. Keep in mind that both programs are, we call that shekel to shekel, meaning 1 shekel that you are bringing from home, and then the government is adding her shekel to that. This is the basic structure. I'm running on those, but if you have any question, please, you'll see my emails and all the team email in the end, and by Hamburg Invest, you can call us and we'll give you some extra details. Plus, you can find quite a lot of information on the government's webpage, and they have all the basic forms. You can see that also. So it's not a secret. Not a lot of people know that, but it's not a secret. It's out there in the web. Last program is a specific program that I want to tell you about. That this is something that we structure internally in Israel, in Tel Aviv, and in Hamburg. We call that export program from 0 to 25%. The reason of 25% is this is our special goal. If we are able to assist the company in a period of between 2 or 3 years to start from zero exporting or zero partnership, sending their knowledge and R&D to Hamburg, if we are starting from the zero point of view, our effort is at least to have 25% of the turnover of the company being produced or being manufactured, in this case in Hamburg and abroad, or assisting exporting abroad. So why 25%? Because, by the way, if it's 100%, it's also great, but the basic level is 25%. Because once we are reaching 25%, you have quite a lot of government benefits, starting from normal corporate tax. In Israel, it's 23%, but if you are reaching this special status, you are able to minimize that to 16 down to 6. So between 6 to 16% of corporate tax in 23, which is quite impressive from the Israeli government benefits. And also you are having your door open for a lot of special terms of loans and grants extra than what I mentioned. I mentioned previously that we have between 20 to 25 special grants for companies that want to go outside of Israel. Usually the government advertise that several times a year, between two to 4 times a year, according to the budget. And then if you are preparing yourself in advance, you are able to submit a request for those grants. Again, we'll be happy to assist. But this is a special program. We'll be happy to elaborate later on, but you should know that there is such an opportunity to receive money for assisting you going to Hamburg, and following that to continue growing with the activity with your partners in Hamburg and your activity, joint ventures or factory that you will establish in Hamburg. So that was the brief. Now you can see another slide. Probably if you want to have the presentation later on, you can see that there is quite a lot of other grants and government assistance that is open for you. But since we want to be on time, you will allow me to stop here, saying thank you very much to everyone, and I'll be happy to answer any question by email. And you'll see here all our partners' email and contact, and no doubt Veronica, Stefan, and Evgeny can connect us with you. So back to you, Stefan. Thank you.
Thank you very much for these very interesting insights over here. I think it looks very pragmatic, not too complicated. In Germany, sometimes we like to consider all kind of special cases and exceptions, and then on the long run, it gets too complicated. So I can also highly motivate people who like to get in touch with the German market, that we offer our channels, your channels. You are established over here, you're established in Tel Aviv, and like we said many times before, get in touch with us. I think we have some minutes left, or we will actually overdue some minutes. I think we can do that because we are last session. Let me start by asking one question that came in via Menti. I think the question goes to Johannes. What are the benefits of working in a hub, or the digital hub logistic especially?
The benefits are, and I try to outline that in my statement, the benefits are that if you are from the area of logistics or also mobility, you may as well, of course, go to any other co-working space or any other office that Hamburg has to offer. But working at a hub is not only the physical workspace equipment, it's also a tap into a network, into a very focused thematic network that can help you to develop your business, your startup idea quicker than sitting, even though I like the WeWork atmosphere, than sitting in the WeWork, for example. So that's the example. We also very clearly say, and Veronica has put that on her slides as well, the digital hub logistics is probably not the best place for a health tech or a fintech startup. We have different places in Hamburg for that, different hubs. But bottom line is, besides having a physical infrastructure, it's the network of people and connections that are beneficial.
Thank you, Johannes. I think that is exactly the important case that you have to consider, not being just in a location. You are in a network. You are benefiting from the other ones who are there as well, and from everything happening over there. There's another question. I think, Veronica, this might be one for you. Is there any support for Israeli or other foreign professionals who want to find a job, not open their own startup in the tech scene in Hamburg, find a job in the tech scene in Hamburg? How easy is the networking and communication? Maybe Evgeny will add 2 words later on about getting work permit things and so.
And I think Eyal can also add on this. I mean, he's our expert on this. So first of all, yes, there's a few networks that I know of. Generally speaking, there's a few magazines or online startup platforms that are responsive, like that are posting jobs for all over Germany, also and also Hamburg. But if it comes to Hamburg specifically, we also have some colleagues who I will put you in touch with. They are having a platform for jobs in Hamburg. It's called Talents, and it's also part of Hamburg Invest. But then when it comes to startup jobs in Hamburg, there's a private entity called Hamburg Startups. And if you sign up with their, they have a website, and if you sign up with their newsletter, they are publishing a newsletter every Friday, and there they post jobs, and it's called Job Board as well. So you can also you can enter the job board through the website. So that's one of the possibilities that there are for explicitly startup positions in Hamburg. So Hamburg Startups and our colleagues who we can put you in touch with.
Perfect. I have another question, and I would like to guide both questions to Evgeny. The one, how we support, and you mentioned that briefly already, how we support in terms of work permits. And there's a question saying, with a non-European passport, how long can I stay in Germany? And do I get support with the bureaucracy?
Yes, thank you for questions. I would like to add something to the previous point of Veronica. In the case that somebody would like open a company just at work here, he has to apply for blue card. It's calling blue card. It's something very close to green card in the United States. So it gives you this options to work for another company without your own one. And regarding Stefan, can you repeat this? Sorry,
No problem. If I find it, I will do it. With a non-European passport, how long can I stay in Germany, and do I get support with the bureaucracy? On European,
without non-EU passport, you can stay up to the 180 days in Hamburg, and just also as a managing director of your company. So you don't need a residence permit for leading your company in Hamburg. You can stay also in Israel and do it. So it's not obligated to live here in the case you're managing director of the company.
Okay, thank you.
Stefan, I can give some personal advice for people looking for a job in Hamburg.
Yeah, go ahead.
First of all, you can contact me and I can help personally if anyone has a special interest. Second, I just want to like to say that as we look for a job in other places here, the companies are always open to receive messages on LinkedIn, for example. People answer on LinkedIn and you can apply for jobs there. There's also headhunters that help you find a job, especially if you're a developer. That might be, let's say, relatively easy. And also a lot of Israeli groups actually on the different platforms. Also, people are very, very helpful in connecting to the right direction. That's the first thing. So if you have any interest in getting more information, I'll be happy to help. The second thing, I don't know if it was mentioned, there is the Welcome Center. They asked about bureaucracy. And I think there is the Welcome Center in Hamburg, if I'm not mistaken, for certain employees and people who come to Hamburg, which help with all the bureaucracy, the registration and all that. So, yeah.
Yeah, good point to mention that the Hamburg Welcome Center, which is also located in a good location, it's directly in the Chamber of Commerce. People speak languages, and they very much support our jobs as Hamburg Invest also. So there is plenty of, let's say, touch points where you get supported in terms of getting the bureaucracy done. Thank you very much. Yeah.
One point, the Welcome Center is moved to Hamburg, just to tell you about it.
They have already?
They moved to Hamburg Welcome Center, not by the Chamber of Commerce anymore.
Okay.
And as I mentioned before, residents of citizens of Israel, they can apply for everything just in Welcome Center. They don't need to do it in the embassy, the German embassy in Israel. So it's a big advantage for them.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think that we have actually touched many of the questions that are coming in the different speeches and presentations already. There's one question saying, what are the other growth areas in Hamburg that help the development of startups? Veronica, startups means it's your turn again, and I think you mentioned all the cluster structures we have. If you want to add something to this question, please feel free. What are the other growth areas in Hamburg that help the development of startups?
I mean, there's a reason why we focused this event on logistics and mobility. That's one of the biggest growth areas, but then also all other areas. I mean, that's the beauty of Hamburg. It's kind of like the U. Johannes mentioned before that we met in Brussels, and I think the slogan is of the United the EU is united in diversity. And I would like to say that's a little bit the motto, the theme of Hamburg as well. There's a lot of different sectors that are there for a reason. Some of them has been there for a very long time. I think our port was founded in 11 something century. So, I mean, you know, logistics has been there for a long time. But then also food at the moment is very big, of course, also thriving throughout the Corona crisis because people are eating still. But I mean, the slide that I showed before, all of those sectors, it's basically 10 sectors that are very incremented in the city. Hydrogen is also very big at the moment. There's a lot of stuff happening, and there will be many startups very soon in Hamburg. At the moment, it's a few, but there's a lot of initiatives in this way. So yeah, and it's exciting to work in the city, I have to say. You know, of course, working for Hamburg Invest, I have a blurred view, and you will not believe me, but it's a very exciting place with a very diverse economy and a lot of startup offers. All of these sectors, they have strong offers for startups. Health is also very big in Hamburg. Yeah, so there's ample of opportunities, and you should come check it out.
Absolutely. Thank you very much, Veronica. And going back to your reference to the tradition of Hamburg and the port, normally in the very first days of May, we're always celebrating our port anniversary, which is actually the biggest port festival worldwide, attracting about 1 million people over 3-4 days. We are celebrating 832 years now. We have to celebrate on a very much smaller scale in 2021, unfortunately, but everybody's hoping that things get back to normal after that. Thank you very much for everything. Thank you very much to the audience for listening, for putting in questions. Thank you to the speakers. Thank you for the great team in the back doing all the technical things. And I think I hand it back to you, Johannes, for a final roundup. I think everybody can also follow these sessions again on YouTube. Thank you very much. Shalom.
Thank you. Yes, and as Stefan has said, it's my duty to, so to say, bind this event off yesterday and today to say thank you to all panelists, to all speakers, presenters, to the cooperation partners who made this possible. The entire event of yesterday and today is available online. Just check the YouTube channel of Digital Hub Logistics and you will see everything that we've talked about over the last 2 days. Now, Germans have the stereotype to be on time and punctual. We are running about 10 minutes late. Sorry for that. Nonetheless, I hope that you enjoyed these 2 days as much as I did. Stay safe, stay sound, and of course, come to Hamburg and pay us a visit once this Corona pandemic is over. To all of you, a very Merry Christmas and all the best to the next year. Bye-bye, Shalom und Tschüss.